This is the story of Seo-jun, where he grew stronger by farming and evolving his pets by giving them his special juice, making them thick. Thick. What the? In the previous episode, you saw how the tower manager was ill and was about to die in a few years. But after eating Seo-jun's special juicy cherry tomatoes, she started to heal. Meanwhile, the mother rabbits gave birth to 6 cute baby rabbits. And as the blue moon approached, the demon lord, the boss of the 99th floor, was ready to attack Seo-jun's cave with his army. Now, thanks to the Straw Hat's magical ability, Seo-jun enjoyed a significant harvest bonus. The upcoming week promised a 50% increase in the cherry tomato harvest. Standing by the cherry tomato farm, Seo-jun observed the miraculous results of this bonus. The cherry plants were adorned with double the usual number of flowers, and hundreds of busy honeybees buzzed around them collecting nectar. Seo-jun couldn't help but smile as he gazed at the thriving cherry tomato plants. The sight of the honeybees at work was like a symphony of nature in action. Now, sitting near the cherry tomato plants, Seo-jun started to think. He contemplated that tomorrow marked the 7th blue moon since he had arrived in the tower. He wondered if the baby bear and his mommy were also preparing for the blue moon, which might be the reason they didn't come to the cave today. Seo-jun also realized that he had to go to work and quickly prepare for the blue moon. However, Seo-jun's attention was diverted by the commotion of new baby rabbits. He turned back to see the cute baby rabbits running around, with Theo wearing a worried expression as he tried to catch them to prevent them from getting hurt. Theo managed to catch one of the baby rabbits that was nibbling on a half-eaten fish. He scolded the little one, explaining that the fish was dirty and not suitable for them to eat. The baby rabbits, of course, couldn't understand his words and continued their innocent exploration. Next, the baby rabbits attempted to approach the campfire. Another potential danger, Leo once again intervened. He scooped up the little rabbits and warned them about the fire. Frustrated, Theo gathered all the baby rabbits, holding one in his hand, another on his back, and one more in his other hand, gently scolding them all. Theo stressed that everything around them was too dangerous for the baby rabbits and that they needed to stay close to Uncle Theo. However, the baby rabbits, in their adorable innocence, remained clueless. Before we proceed, today's goal is 7K likes. Please like and subscribe to the channel to show your support. Thank you. Let's continue. Observing Theo's caring and protective nature towards the baby rabbits, Seo-jun couldn't help but smile warmly. He never expected that Theo would become such a wonderful guardian for the little ones. While Theo continued to pick up the adventurous baby rabbits and place them on his cape, Seo-jun approached him. With genuine affection in his voice, Seo-jun asked Theo how he was faring as Uncle Theo to the baby rabbits and as the sales cat. Theo, a bit tired from all the baby rabbit wrangling, admitted that he was quite exhausted. The mother and father rabbits were very happy, watching how Theo was taking care of their babies. Theo then placed his hand proudly on his chest and declared that despite the exhaustion, he was thoroughly enjoying his role as the cool Uncle Theo. Seo-jun couldn't help but let out a slight chuckle at Theo's response. As Seo-jun turned back, the husband rabbit and the wife rabbit gave him a thumbs up very happily. Seo-jun returned the thumbs up with a smirking smile, indicating that they had successfully made Theo take care of the baby rabbits, freeing themselves from this responsibility. Theo, with all the baby rabbits now on his back, expressed his excitement at taking them on a grand adventure. He encouraged the little ones to hold on tight as they embarked on their journey. The baby rabbits clung to Theo, their tiny faces filled with pure joy. As Theo prepared to set off on this exciting adventure with his small companions, Seo-jun shouted from behind, reminding him to return before dinner. The scene shifted to the grand castle of our honeybee colony. Here the workers were diligently sealing the windows of the castle to keep out the influence of the upcoming blue moon. The rabbits too were one by one closing the entrances to their caves and retreating to the safety of their underground dwelling. Seo-jun, sitting on the ground nearby, began to unpack his bag. He too was all set for the impending blue moon. As he went about his preparations, he couldn't help but notice Theo attempting to enter his own bag. A curious expression crossed Seo-jun's face, and he asked Theo what he was up to. Theo, with his body halfway inside the bag, replied with a hint of playfulness in his voice. He explained that he was planning to take refuge inside his bag to avoid the effects of the blue moon. Since he had recently advanced to become a higher mid-level merchant, his bag had grown in size. Now, he could comfortably fit inside it, providing him with shelter from the moon's influence. As Theo settled himself into the bag, Seo-jun listened curiously. Theo continued, explaining that his bag, while useful, wasn't anything particularly special. and was about the size of a simple tent. However, he added that other high-level merchants had bags as large as entire houses. Seo-jun listened to Theo with curiosity, and then he got a great idea. Seo-jun carefully took out the queen bee's cocoon from his bag and handed it to Theo. He requested Theo to keep it safe. Theo received the cocoon with a mix of excitement and determination, cradling the precious item gently in his furry paws. He assured Seo-jun that he would protect the queen bee's cocoon with all his might, promising that not a single thread on it would be damaged. Seo-jun smiled warmly, expressing his trust in Theo's ability. As the blue moon slowly began its ascent, casting an otherworldly blue hue across the landscape, Seo-jun found himself gazing up at the sky. He couldn't help but wonder about the well-being of the baby bear and its mother during this unusual night. However, their thoughts were soon interrupted by an unexpected event. The ground beneath them began to tremble. Seo-jun swiftly placed the ear cups made of onion leaves over his ears, his face etched with concern. The vibrations from the shaking ground were accompanied by increasingly loud screams that pierced through the night. The sheer volume of the noise threatened to overwhelm Seo-jun, and he clutched his ears tightly, fearing they might burst from the intensity of the sound. It seemed as though something extraordinary and potentially perilous was unfolding outside the cave. After what seemed like an eternity, the deafening noise finally ceased, leaving a bewildered Seo-jun to ponder its origin. It had resembled the cry of a cow, but that raised a peculiar question. Were there cows on the 9th floor? Such thoughts swirled in his mind, but soon his attention was drawn to the cherry tomato plants. In the eerie blue light of the blue moon, the cherry tomatoes had undergone a remarkable transformation. They absorbed the moon's energy, turning a vibrant shade of blue. Seo-jun watched in astonishment as not just one, but multiple blue cherry tomatoes glistened in the moonlight. He couldn't help but wonder if the blue moon that night was exceptionally intense. However, the surprises didn't end there. To his amazement, Seo-jun noticed a corn plant also soaking in the energy of the blue moon. His excitement grew as he contemplated this unusual phenomenon. He speculated that the Straw Hat's ability, which had boosted the harvest by 50% for the week, might be responsible for these incredible developments. Morning eventually arrived, and Theo ventured outside the cave first. After surveying the area and ensuring it was safe, he informed Seo-jun that there was no sign of danger at the cave's entrance. Seo-jun, using the onion leaf rope, followed suit and emerged from the cave. However, Theo expressed concern about the potential dangers outside, especially after the unsettling screams from the previous night. He suggested that it might have been safer to wait until the mother bear returned to the cave. However, Seo-jun reassured him, explaining that he needed to investigate if the creatures responsible for the loud noises had caused any damage to their farm. Theo firmly clung to Seo-jun's legs, insisting that he would accompany him. He respectfully addressed Seo-jun as chairman. Seo-jun, with a warm smile, expressed his gratitude to Theo, referring to him as Salescat Theo. Outside the cave, the scene was far from pleasant. Their farm had been torn apart, leaving large mounds of dirt scattered around as if someone had used heavy machinery to dig extensive holes. But then Seo-jun noticed something, a large footprint of a monster about 7 meters in size, and after careful examination, concluded that the footprints resembled those of a large cow. He approached one of the massive dirt piles and marveled at the immense strength required to dig and form such a mound. As Seo-jun inspected the area, he noticed something that left him in shock. He sprinted toward one of the dirt piles and began to climb it energetically. Theo, bewildered by Seo-jun's actions, inquired about his intentions. Seo-jun, a handful of dirt in his hands and a look of pure happiness on his face, explained that the soil had a different texture from the usual barren ground. Instead of being crumbly, hard, and filled with pebbles, this soil was soft, moist, and appeared to be rich in nutrients. Seo-jun's mind raced with possibilities. He fantasized about transforming the area outside the cave into a lush, fertile farm teeming with crops. However, reality soon set in. To do this, he would need heavy machinery like tractors and excavators, which seemed impossible to obtain. The tower manager inquired about Seo-jun's presence outside the cave. Seo-jun casually explained that he had just come to check on the farm and was planning to return to the cave shortly. However, the tower manager scolded him, expressing her concern due to the intense blue moon from the previous night, which had led to dangerous conditions outside with monsters scattered about. With a hint of jest, Seo-jun slid down a mound of dirt and cheekily affirmed that he was indeed on his way. Playfully, he referred to the tower manager as Aileen, and asked if she had been okay during the intense blue moon last night. Annoyed by his nonchalant attitude, the tower manager firmly asserted that Seo-jun need not worry about her and emphasized his safety, instructing him to return to the cave immediately. Seo-jun couldn't resist a smirk and commented that it seemed like Aileen, the tower manager, was showing more concern for him today. In response, Aileen remained silent, leaving the conversation hanging. Then, Seo-jun descended from the cave, determined to harvest the crops nourished by the blue moon. Meanwhile, Theo was utterly exhausted and had retreated for some much-needed rest. Seo-jun took hold of a cornstalk, brimming with the energy of the blue moon. With careful precision, he plucked the corn and began to peel it open. To his amazement, the corn gleamed with a sparkling blue hue. Seo-jun then examined its properties, discovering it was called the Corn of Stamina. Consuming it would result in a permanent stamina increase of 0.1, making it both nutritious and delicious. Holding this unique blue corn in his hand, Seo-jun realized that because it was a D-rank crop, it provided double the stat boost compared to E-rank crops. Setting aside thoughts of calculations and numbers, Seo-jun eagerly prepared to take a bite of the blue corn. However, just as he was about to indulge, the tower manager issued a stern warning, reminding Seo-jun of his promise. Startled, Seo-jun swiftly wiped away his saliva, assuring the tower manager that he hadn't forgotten his commitment. To make amends, he plucked 5 blue cherry tomatoes and presented them to the tower manager. In response, the tower manager expressed her gratitude and promised to repay Seo-jun in the future. Seo-jun responded with a smile, eagerly looking forward to whatever awaited him. The tower manager held the 5 blue cherry tomatoes, each brimming with Seo-jun's special juice. As she gazed at these extraordinary fruits, a thought crossed her mind. If a regular cherry tomato could make her dragon heart beat, what would happen when she consumed one of Seo-jun's special, juicy cherry tomatoes? Without dwelling further on her curiosity, she impulsively popped all 5 blue cherry tomatoes into her mouth. The juiciness and flavor were beyond her wildest expectations, and for a moment, she felt as if she had entered a heavenly realm. She held her cheeks in delight, savoring the extraordinary taste. However, just as suddenly as the pleasure had washed over her, something unexpected occurred. First, a ticklish sensation pricked at her bottom. Then, a surge of intense pain engulfed her, and she collapsed onto the ground. Racked with agony, she cried out as a dark purple aura enveloped her heart. So the video ends here. What do you think will happen next? Write in the comments and give a purple heart if you watched till here. Thank you. This is the story of Seo-jun, where he grew stronger by farming and evolving his pets by giving them his special juice, making them thick. Thick. What the? In the previous episode, we witnessed how, when the blue moon arrived, a menacingly loud noise nearly caused Seo-jun to faint. He obtained blue corn and some blue cherry tomatoes, and after consuming Seo-jun's special cherries, the tower manager fainted in pleasure. Oh, sorry, but fainted in pain. Seo-jun skillfully separated the husk of the corn, which had been blessed by the blue moon. He gently placed it into a pot along with some water, then covered the lid. As the corn simmered over the campfire, Seo-jun sat beside the pot, wearing a satisfied smile. He remarked how he was finally able to put the pot that Theo had bought to good use. He explained that the corn husk would create a layer of air between the pot and the corn, resulting in a perfectly cooked corn. Next, Seo-jun took the remaining corn husk, washed it, and set it to dry between 2 rocks with the help of 2 wooden branches. He smiled gently, saying that once the husk was dry, he would be able to make corn silk tea, adding another beverage to enjoy in the cave. Then, the husband rabbit and the other rabbits greeted Seo-jun with cheerful wishes of good morning. Seo-jun returned their greetings with a warm smile, starting the day on a positive note. Seo-jun inquired about the baby rabbits, wondering where they were. The husband rabbit gestured toward the cave, indicating that the babies were inside, sleeping peacefully beside their mother, who was currently breastfeeding them. With excitement, Seo-jun called all the rabbits and proudly displayed the blue and juicy cherry tomatoes, blessed by the blue moon, that he had harvested the previous night. He explained that the harvest had been plentiful and that each of them could have one. The husband rabbit and the warrior rabbit were overjoyed to receive their share. Before we proceed, today's goal is 7,777. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you. Now let's continue with the story. Turning back to check on the boiling pot, Seo-jun informed the rabbits that he was preparing a new batch of Blue Moon corn, and they could all enjoy it together once it was ready. The rabbits eagerly anticipated this treat. Then, the husband rabbit, holding his blue cherry tomato, tried to convey to Seo-jun that he wanted to share the blue cherry tomato with him. Hearing this, Seo-jun was overjoyed by this gesture, and he responded with a warm smile as he patted the husband rabbit. He expressed his deep gratitude, acknowledging that the husband rabbit always looked out for him. Happily, the husband rabbit wagged his tail in response. On the other hand, the warrior rabbit felt a bit sad because Seo-jun was only patting the husband rabbit, and the chubby rabbit seemed a bit displeased, puffing up his cheeks in a mildly annoyed manner. Then Seo-jun turned towards the warrior rabbit and the chubby rabbit, and with a smile he said that even if he wanted to eat all the blue cherry tomatoes by himself, he couldn't because they were all a family. So they would have a grand feast and share the tomatoes with everyone. Hearing this, the warrior rabbit became very happy, and the chubby rabbit started drooling in anticipation. The scene then shifted, and we saw our queen bee with her worker bees collecting nectar. Seo-jun gently opened the hot pot's lid, and steam filled the air with a sweet aroma. Gazing at the hot blue corn, Seo-jun remarked on how delicious it looked. He carefully picked up the steaming ear of corn, even though it was very hot, unable to wait any longer. He blew on it to cool it down, thinking that since it was a D-grade crop filled with the energy of the blue moon, it should taste even more delicious. After the corn had cooled down, Seo-jun, with a very happy smile, prepared to take his first bite. Sitting beside him were all the rabbits, each holding a cherry tomato, eagerly awaiting their share. However, the chubby rabbit couldn't wait and had already devoured an entire blue cherry tomato in one go. Finally, all the rabbits began taking small bites with great joy, savoring every bit of sweetness and deliciousness. The chubby rabbit, having already eaten his portion, sat holding his plump stomach. Just then, the husband rabbit appeared in front of Seo-jun, smiling happily and holding 2 blue cherry tomatoes. He announced that he would share them with his wife. Seo-jun wished him an enjoyable meal. Seo-jun then took a bite of the blue corn. As he had anticipated, it was incredibly delicious, and he could taste the sweetness in every single kernel. Unable to contain himself, Seo-jun began devouring the blue corn, eating it with the same enthusiasm as a rabbit. The more he chewed, the more delicious it became. The rabbits watched in shock at the speed with which he was eating, and some even started cheering for Seo-jun. Then the system notified Seo-jun that he had consumed the stamina corn, and Seo-jun's stamina increased by 0.1 permanently. Holding the cob of the blue corn, Seo-jun expressed his joy at how delicious it was, and how he ate it so eagerly. Then, he threw the corn cob into the campfire, cleaned his hands by clapping, and declared that it was time to harvest some corn. The rabbits also cheered happily. They were all ready to start harvesting. Now standing near a cornstalk, Seo-jun examined the corn closely, commenting on how perfectly ripe it was and ready for harvesting. He carefully plucked one corn, and the system notified Seo-jun that he had harvested a corn of stamina. His job experience increased slightly, and he gained 20 XP. Holding the corn, Seo-jun wondered about its stats and decided to check. The system then provided information. The corn was called Corn of Stamina. When consumed, it would permanently reduce 20 grams of fat and increase stamina by 0.2 for 10 minutes. This effect could be stacked up to 10 times. Furthermore, when consumed by non-awakened individuals, it would also improve their overall health and make them look young. Happily holding the corn, Seo-jun couldn't help but think about how great it would be if he could give this special corn to his mother. He believed it would make her look younger. Seo-jun decided that when Theo visited next time, he would send some of this corn along with cherry tomatoes to his family. It wouldn't be fair if he was the only one enjoying such delicious food. The sickle rabbit continued to cut corn, while the chart rabbit and the white rabbit gathered more corn. They all agreed with Seo-jun's thoughtful idea. Suddenly, a slight growl echoed through the cave, and the mommy bear along with the baby bear greeted Seo-jun with a warm smile. Seo-jun quickly came out of the cave and asked the mommy bear if she was okay, and if she had been hurt. He mentioned hearing loud noises from outside the cave the previous night. The mommy bear assured him that she was perfectly fine. Seo-jun then turned his attention to the baby bear and offered him some of Queen Bee's special juice, knowing that he must be craving it after not having it for a long time. The baby bear's eyes sparkled with delight as he eagerly took the honey and began to enjoy it. After that, Seo-jun turned to the mommy bear and told her to wait for a moment. He promised to bring her some roasted fish in just a minute. Then, still rubbing his eyes and dragging his bag, Theo woke up. Seo-jun asked why Theo had woken up so early, and Theo proudly responded that he couldn't waste any time as sales cat Theo. He was going to work because he was the ultimate pro among wandering merchants. Seo-jun, trying to maintain a neutral expression while feeling a mixture of emotions, commented on how Theo was truly becoming a professional wandering merchant. Then, Theo clung to Seo-jun's foot and asked him to have the mommy bear take him to the wandering merchant passage. He explained that many dangerous monsters were prowling around due to the blue moon. Without hesitation, the baby bear gently picked Theo up and, with his mommy's assistance, started heading towards the passage. Theo wiggled in their grasp, worried about his precious cake being torn. Observing the damaged field, Seo-jun commented that it was time to restore it while waiting for the mommy and baby bear to return from dropping off Theo. The scene shifts, and we find the Ox King, the boss of the 99th floor, sitting on his throne while his thousands of soldiers stand before him. One by one, the Ox soldiers approach the Demon Ox King, each one placing mud beside him. The Ox King begins counting. Soldier number 1 brought dry mud, and then another soldier arrives and he remarks, "So, soldier number 2 brought dry soil." Upon hearing this, the soldier who brought the dry soil starts to panic a bit and forces a smile. However, the Ox King becomes furious and starts shouting. He berates his ox soldiers, declaring them to be dumb for bringing mud and dry soil. He emphasizes that he's a living being, not a plant, and questions how he could eat mud. He asks them if they've lost their minds. One of the soldiers raises their hand and explains that it's been so long since they've seen any green grass in their territory that they didn't know where to find food. They express their gloom, admitting that even if they were to dig up their entire territory, they would find nothing but mud. Listening intently, the Ox King reflects on their word. He curses under his breath and slumps back onto his throne. He starts to wonder why this is happening. Once upon a time, their territory was filled with lush green fields and high-quality grass. However, after he became the boss of the 99th floor, he needed large quantities of grass to maintain his muscular physique. He had ordered all his men to gather grass in their territory, but the Minotaur race are large monsters with voracious appetites. The rate at which they consumed the grass far exceeded the rate at which it grew, leading to the land becoming barren, devoid of a single blade of grass. Now, thinking deeply, the Ox King was worried. He and his subordinates were not eating and were losing muscle. Even the health of the newborn young Minotaurs was not looking good. If they didn't receive anything to eat, their lives would be in danger. Then, the Ox King shouted, calling for Ox number 3. However, even after calling for several minutes, no one came. The Ox King asked in concern if Ox number 3 had mistakenly entered another monster's territory and got himself into trouble. But from behind, Ox number 3 came, apologizing. He explained that when the blue moon ended and he opened his eyes, he found himself very far away, so it took him a long time to reach here. Hearing this, the Ox King showed relief, saying it's fine as long as he returned safely. However, before he could finish his sentence, the Ox King noticed something and his eyes widened in shock. He had a puzzled expression on his face as he started coming closer to Ox number 3, making Ox number 3 nervous, thinking the Ox King might punish him. Suddenly, the Ox King came even closer to Ox number 3, holding his shoulder, and shouted, "What is that on Ox number 3's head?" This left Ox number 3 in confusion. The Ox King continued, saying he was talking about that sweet-smelling root that was hanging on Ox number 3's horn. While saying this, the Ox King was breathing heavily, and Ox number 3 noticed something hanging on his horn as well, and he too got shocked. What could it be? The scene shifted, and we saw the tower manager lying in pain. Her head was throbbing severely. She tried to recall what had happened, wondering how she had ended up in this condition. Slowly, she attempted to stand up, but as she rose, her head collided with the chandelier hanging from the ceiling. She was confused and shocked, wondering how the chandelier had come loose. Then, when she looked down, another surprise awaited her. She noticed that her crystal ball had shrunk in size. As she gingerly picked up the crystal ball, she realized that neither the chandelier nor the crystal ball had gotten smaller. It was she who had grown bigger. So, the video ends here. What do you think will happen next? Write in the comments and give a pink heart in the comments if you watched till here. Thank you. This is the story of Seo-jun, where he grew stronger by farming and evolving his pets by giving them his special juice, making them thick. Thick. What the? In the previous episode, we saw how after eating Seo-jun's juicy cherries, our tower manager grew thicker. Shit grew larger. On the other hand, the Ox King was getting ready to attack Seo-jun. Still deeply confused, the tower manager realized that she had hit puberty, and her body had undergone a significant change. She felt a strange tickling sensation in her stomach as she sat crouched, lost in thought. She couldn't comprehend why she had suddenly grown so big. Then, a memory flashed through her mind. She remembered eating those 5 blue, juicy cherry tomatoes that Seo-jun had given her. She began to wonder if there was something special about Seo-jun's cherry tomatoes. Just before she had fainted, she recalled her dragon heart beating for a brief moment. Afterward, she had grown larger, and even though her heart wasn't beating now, she felt incredibly light, as if she could fly right now if she tried. Then, holding her crystal ball tightly, she started kissing Seo-jun through the crystal ball, saying that it was all because of Seo-jun that her heart had healed somewhat. She couldn't contain her excitement as she thought about what she would do with Seo-jun once they got out of the tower. Then, as she observed Seo-jun through her crystal ball, happily munching on the blue corn, she couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. She shouted, asking how Seo-jun could relish those delectable treats while leaving her out. However, the crystal ball she held was too small for her grown-up body, preventing her from getting a clear view of what Seo-jun was enjoying. Without wasting a single minute, she hurriedly tried to go to her treasured room to bring a larger crystal ball. However, she got stuck at the door since it was too small for her thick. It was too small for her current body, and she started shouting in frustration, saying she needed to lose weight, or Seo-jun would devour all the delicious treats without her. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our new channel. Link in the pinned comment. Our goal for today's likes is 6,900 likes. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you. Now let's continue with the video. The scene shifts, and it's a bright sunny day outside the cave's entrance. The baby bear waves his hands happily toward the queen bee, who joyfully waves back while flying around the cave with her worker bees. Meanwhile, the shovel rabbit stands atop a pile of corn, watching the worker bees work with delight. Over by the corn pile, the husband rabbit and the wife rabbit are busy peeling the corn and placing the peeled corn on top of onion leaves. The baby rabbits are having fun playing with one of the worker bees, while the sickle rabbit is preparing wooden sticks. The warrior rabbit takes the peeled corn and places it onto the wooden sticks, with a cute little baby rabbit watching in admiration. Another baby rabbit patiently waits beside a pile of prepared corn, neatly arranged on top of onion leaves, all ready for roasting. The cart rabbit then comes in, loads up the prepared corn onto his cart to roast, and a baby rabbit sits on the cart, cheerfully waving to the white rabbit who's in charge of roasting the corn over the campfire. Then we see Seo-jun complimenting all his animal friends for doing a great job preparing the corn. He called the cute baby rabbit on the cart Captain Baby, as the baby rabbit also did a great job coming all the way here. The baby rabbit reacted happily. Holding the baby rabbit in his arms, Seo-jun said to the chubby rabbit that he had steamed the corns and his work was almost finished. He suggested wrapping up and told the chubby rabbit to gather everyone, as they would all have dinner together. The chubby rabbit nodded in response. Excitedly, Seo-jun gently opened the lid of the pot, and the delicious aroma of the juicy corn filled the entire cave. Seeing the corn, the baby rabbit in Seo-jun's hand also started drooling with sparkling eyes. As Seo-jun was taking out the hot, juicy steamed corns from the pot and placing them on plates made of onion leaves with a DIY glove made from onion leaves, the tower manager asked Seo-jun if she also could taste the juicy corn. She then asked if Seo-jun could give her one steamed corn. Suddenly, a quest appeared in front of Seo-jun, saying, "Share the corn with the horny, share the corn with the hungry tower manager." And the reward was extreme gratitude. If refused, the tower manager would become extremely disappointed. Seeing this, Seo-jun replied, addressing the tower manager as Aileen with a smile on his face. He mentioned that he was going to give some steamed corn to her anyway, and said to wait for a moment. He was also preparing some grilled corn, and once ready, he would send both the steamed and grilled corn to her all at once. The tower manager nodded, saying she would wait. Then we see the warrior rabbit and the white rabbits bringing the delicious, mouth-watering grilled corn. Seo-jun instructed them to place the grilled corn on a plate made of onion leaf. After a moment, we see many grilled corns neatly arranged on a large plate, also made of onion leaf. The cart rabbit brought the steamed corn, and all the rabbits worked together to prepare the corns for dinner. Meanwhile, the husband rabbit and the wife rabbit happily stood with the baby rabbits, and on a large bowl made of onion leaves beside Seo-jun, there was a full load of steamed corn. 3 cute little baby rabbits watched, unable to wait to taste them. Now Seo-jun, holding a roasted corn with seasoning sprinkled on it, commented that the seasoning Theo brought was a godsend to the grilled corn. He continued, saying it's a pity that he can't taste the butter-grilled corn like his mom makes, but this also looks very delicious. The white rabbits were also holding grilled corn, and the warrior rabbit was contemplating whether to eat the grilled or steamed corn. Then, Seo-jun began preparing his special corn. First, he applied the sugar that Theo bought onto the corn and grilled it until it turned golden brown. Next, he sprinkled some Parmesan cheese onto the grilled corn. With his tongue licking his lips, Seo-jun reached into his bag while a cute baby rabbit watched curiously to see what Seo-jun was doing. Suddenly, he excitedly brought out a pouch full of red chili powder and explained how he found this chili pouch in Theo's bag while Theo was sleeping. He started to think with a slight anger that Theo didn't tell Seo-jun about such a precious item, and considered removing Theo from the sales cat position. However, he decided to let it slide since he was in a very good mood today. Lastly, he sprinkled some chili powder onto the corn, and voila! Seo-jun's special juicy corn was ready. The system notified Seo-jun that it was a corn filled with Seo-jun's aura and so delicious that one couldn't hold back once eaten. Finally, Seo-jun took a bite out of his special corn, and yes, it was truly delicious. Seo-jun smiled with pleasure, feeling like he was in heaven as the sweet and spicy taste reminded him of his home. Then, Seo-jun prepared 6 grilled juicy corns and gave them to the tower manager, who thanked him happily, completing the quest. Seo-jun then turned toward the white and warrior rabbits and asked them if the grilled corn was delicious. They nodded in response with smiles on their faces as they munched on the grilled corn. Then Seo-jun noticed that the husband rabbit and the wife rabbit were not eating their meals as they were busy feeding the baby rabbits. Then Seo-jun got an idea. He placed a steamed corn on a bowl and with a spoon scraped the corn kernels, separating them. He gave the bowl full of corn kernels to the husband rabbit and the wife rabbit, saying that now the baby rabbits could eat without being fed, and they could also enjoy their meal. The husband and wife rabbit sighed in relief and thanked Seo-jun while the baby rabbits surrounded the bowl full of corn kernels and started picking them one by one. Then Seo-jun also started munching on the corn happily. However, as he took a bite, he noticed something, and the next moment he spit out all the corn he had eaten, saying, "What the hell?" He saw that the baby rabbits were playing with the corn kernels, and all the corn kernels were sticking to their bodies. 3 baby rabbits were lying on the bowl, with one eating a corn kernel while the other 2 called out to Seo-jun cutely. Seo-jun gently, with a warm smile, started removing the corn kernels one by one from their bodies, remarking on how they were getting naughtier day by day. Meanwhile, one baby rabbit, with a full stomach, was sleeping on the bowl, while another was eating some corn kernels. Others had their corn kernels removed by Seo-jun. With an exhausted expression, Seo-jun started feeding the baby rabbits, saying that working while taking care of babies was very tiring. He missed Theo, as Theo was the one who used to take care of the baby rabbits. Then Seo-jun gave the mommy and baby bear some sweet potatoes, fresh fish, and some corn to eat, and they also started eating happily. Then the scene shifts, and we see a member of the Phoenix Guild banging his hand on the table in frustration, asking why Theo is not coming as he is taking longer than usual. They had set up a camp on the 38th floor where Theo usually comes to sell the cherry tomatoes. Another hunter asked why he came here to buy cherry tomatoes again, as just the other day, he bought a good amount of cherry tomato. He replied with a serious face that outside the tower, rich people are buying these magical cherry tomatoes at very high prices. A single cherry tomato is selling for more than $400, so he came to stock up on the cherry tomatoes to sell them at a higher price later. Then we see Dong-shik talking with a blonde-haired woman, Jessica, a member of the Phoenix Guild. She asked Dong-shik what to do as their supplies are slowly running out, and it will become very difficult to leave the tower once they're empty. Now Dong-shik, thinking deeply, replied that they have no other choice. He decided to stay in the tower, while all the other members will get out from the tower to refill the supply. As all the members were leaving the tower, Dong-shik, watching them from behind, said to the big melon girl, He thought Jessica would be the one staying in the tower, but didn't expect Soha to be here with him. Then, Suha explained that Jessica had already gotten rid of her fatty stomach, so she no longer needed the cherry tomatoes. With a warm smile, she said that Jessica gave her share to Suha instead. Dongshik asked Suha if she would also participate in the auction personally, wondering if she also needed the cherry tomatoes. Suha replied that she was not there for the cherry tomatoes. She playfully winked and brought out 5 packets of churu, saying she was here to give this churu to Theo. Dongshik laughed and replied that it's good to keep Theo happy since he's a very important guy. Then the scene shifts, and we see Theo singingly walking in the forest, saying that the baby rabbits are waiting for the cool Uncle Theo. So he has to quickly finish his work and return to the cave. Finally, after a long walk, Theo reached his destination, the Wandering Merchant Passageway. It was a humongous, thick tree with a large hole, and was now standing just above the passageway on a hill. Theo commented on how big the tree was, and looked up, saying he felt like the tree was so big that it would reach the sky. Then we see many wandering merchants preparing to enter the passageway. Among them, there's a big elephant, a goblin, and 2 little mice, all following Theo, who is at the front of the group. A cute dog merchant officer asked Theo which agency he was from and what Theo's grade was. Theo proudly replied that he was a high-grade wandering merchant and wanted to use the passageway to reach the 38th floor. The officer approved Theo's request, and he started moving forward. However, unbeknownst to Theo, 3 wolves from behind him began glaring at him with deadly eyes and followed him. They were silver-furred wolves with sharp yellow eyes. One of them was larger, the captain, and the other 2 were smaller. The 2 smaller wolves, upon seeing a drawing, they stared at Theo, trying to find something. Eventually, they revealed that they were looking for the straw hat that Theo had bought from the blacksmith. The 2 wolves' names were Wilco and Elkie. The little wolf asked the big wolf with a worried face why the floor boss was looking for the straw hat, especially just an ordinary straw hat that could be found anywhere. However, the captain replied with a serious tone that it didn't matter what the item was. They were the Silver Wolf tribe, the best mercenaries in the whole tower, and they should just act according to what the commissioner ordered. Then their captain ordered his subordinate that it's unlikely that Theo is the one who has the straw hat, but for now, they will just follow him. They pulled their hoods over their heads. Unbeknownst to them, from behind, a ghostly figure was watching them. She was the Fox police girl. Seeing all of this, she was also shocked as to why the Silver Wolf tribe was after Theo, and then wondered if it was because of the straw hat. She started to wonder what the mysterious straw hat that the floor master had hired the Silver Wolf for even was. Deciding to follow the Silver Wolf, we see all the wandering merchants passing through the passage with Theo at the front, unaware of the danger following him. Just behind him, the Silver Wolf was tailing, and just behind the Silver Wolf, the Fox girl was stealthily following them. So, the episode ends here. What do you think will happen next? Write your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe to our new channel. Link in the pinned comment. Give a thumbs up emoji in the comment if you watched till here. Goodbye. This is the story of Seo Jun, where he grew stronger by farming and evolving his pets by giving them his special juice, making them thick. Thick. What the? In the previous episode, we saw how, after eating Seo Jun's blue cherry tomatoes, our tower manager grew thicker and became all lovey-dovey, starting to kiss Seo Jun from her crystal ball and just couldn't get enough of him. Meanwhile, Seo Jun was facing challenges in taking care of the baby rabbits in Theo's absence. On the other hand, Theo embarked on a journey to the 38th floor with the intention of selling cherry tomatoes. Little did he know that 3 silver wolves were silently tailing him. These wolves were on a quest to retrieve the straw hat that Theo had purchased from the black market. To make things even more interesting, the diligent police fox, Zeraf, was keeping a close watch on the 3 silver wolves, adding a layer of mystery to the unfolding events. On a lovely sunlit day, the shovel rabbit was hard at work, digging into the earth. Meanwhile, the cart rabbit diligently piled up the excavated soil into his cart. Right beside them, the warrior rabbit, with determined swings, was hammering the ground, making it more even and suitable for planting. So guys, today's like goal is 7,000 likes, so please like and subscribe to support the channel. Now let's continue. Zooming out, we could see both the mommy bear and the baby bear also busy at work, fixing the soil that had been disrupted during the previous blue moon's chaos caused by the buffalo. Seo-jun stood there cheering them on and expressing his gratitude to the mommy bear for her assistance. In a flash, the once hilly piles of dirt were leveled, and the field above the cave was all set for planting. Seo-jun's excitement was palpable as he reached into a red pouch. When he opened it, it revealed a sparkling abundance of peanut seed. The sight of those seeds brought smiles to the faces of Seo-jun and his furry companions. Seo-jun began sowing the peanut seeds across the prepared field. The husband and white rabbits were right behind him, watering the freshly sown seeds, while the cart rabbit, with a contented grin, observed Seo-jun's efforts. The shovel rabbit tirelessly continued to dig, ensuring that the field was perfectly ready for Seo-jun to sow his seeds. After a while of hard work, Seo-jun wiped the sweat from his brow and turned around to see all the peanut seeds neatly sown across the ground. With a cheerful tone, he remarked to the husband rabbit that increasing his agility had truly paid off. It had significantly boosted his work speed, allowing him to plant all the peanut seeds in just a few hours. Seo-jun attributed this remarkable speed not only to his improved agility, but also to the magical straw hat, which provided him with nearly infinite stamina exclusively for farming. The husband rabbit responded with a happy smile, genuinely pleased with Seo-jun's success. The narration then takes us back in time, showing us how Seo-jun acquired these peanut seeds. On the previous day, when the seed store opened, 3 seed options lay before Seo-jun: radish seeds, cucumber seeds, and peanut seeds. After careful consideration, he decided to purchase peanut seeds. His choice was influenced by a YouTube video he had watched, which highlighted peanuts as an excellent crop for soil restoration, something he urgently needed to address the condition of the soil above the ground. Despite his initial inclination to buy cucumber seeds, he ultimately bought 1,000 peanut seeds for 5 tower coin. However, there had been a pleasant surprise waiting for Seo-jun. The system had notified him that he had accumulated 100 seed store points, allowing him to increase his seed store level. This revelation left Seo-jun astonished, and he promptly upgraded his seed store level. As a result, the system informed him that he had been promoted from a rookie to a commoner. With this new status, he could now choose from 4 types of seeds instead of the usual 3. Furthermore, he gained the privilege to purchase an unlimited quantity of seeds from the seed store, although there was still a maximum spending limit of 5 tower coins per month. After completing this transaction, Seo-jun received his precious peanut seed. Now, standing there with his bag full of peanut seeds, Seo-jun wore an excited expression. He couldn't help but imagine what next month's visit to the seed store would bring. His mind buzzed with the possibilities of how many varieties of seeds he would be able to purchase and how his progress would more than double. The anticipation of what lay ahead left him positively thrilled. Returning to the present moment, Seo-jun found himself amidst a task. He was carefully collecting all the harvested corn plants, which were a part of his secret plan, as corn plants, once harvested, became useless as they couldn't be replanted. The baby bear, full of cheerfulness, lent a hand in carrying the corn plants, while the rabbit buddies observed the activity with happy expressions. As Seo-jun patted the baby bear, thanking him for his hard work, the baby bear responded happily in his own language. Seo-jun and his rabbit buddies then began placing the corn plants one by one on top of the exposed peanut seeds. Seo-jun explained that he had cut the corn leaves to create a cover for the peanut seeds, preventing moisture from evaporating. This precaution was necessary due to the constant 24-hour sunshine in their environment. Afterward, seated on the ground, Seo-jun took a corn and started separating the corn kernels, placing them in a bowl. Once he had finished, wiping his sweat away, the system notified him that his experience points had increased, along with his seed gathering level. Seo-jun was planning to soak the corn kernels in water to encourage germination before replanting them. However, before he could proceed, the baby rabbits approached him, and one of them began nibbling on the corn kernels in the bowl. Seo-jun quickly lifted the bowl, reminding them that the corn kernels were not for them to eat. Nevertheless, the baby rabbits persisted, climbing onto Seo-jun's body, eager for a taste. Seo-jun couldn't help but notice the baby rabbits looking a bit downhearted. Some even appeared quite bored. With Theo absent and everyone, including himself and the other rabbits, busy with farming, the baby rabbits had little to keep them entertained. Realizing their need for some fun, Seo-jun had a brilliant idea. Excitedly, he reached into his bag, declaring that he had a fun task for the baby rabbits. Their eyes sparkled with anticipation as they waited eagerly. Seo-jun wasted no time and got to work. Using empty seed pouches, he crafted 3 small backpacks and fashioned 3 miniature handbags from leftover cloth material. To fill these pouches, he added dried sweet potatoes and carrots. Now, the baby rabbits stood there, brimming with excitement, each holding one of these adorable snack-filled bags. One of them beamed proudly, while another sneakily nibbled on a piece of dried sweet potato. Observing them with a warm smile, Seo-jun couldn't help but comment on how cute they looked, like a group of kindergarten kids. With a smile, Seo-jun instructed the baby rabbits that their mission was to deliver these snacks to the hard-working adult rabbits. They eagerly prepared themselves and, with a wave to Seo-jun, indicated they were ready for action. Seo-jun, addressing them as supply units, shouted a playful command to march forward and complete their mission. The baby rabbits, filled with excitement, happily began their march, ready to deliver snacks to their rabbit companion. Next, we witnessed the heartwarming sight of the baby rabbits distributing snacks to their hardworking companions in the field. The working rabbits were clearly delighted, their faces lit up with happiness. The husband rabbit, full of pride, patted one of the baby rabbits on the back. The mommy rabbit wore a contented smile as she lovingly embraced a baby rabbit, her motherly heart swelling with pride. Meanwhile, the cart and sickle rabbits indulged in their snacks, savoring the treats. 2 other lively baby rabbits playfully scampered around the field, their joy infectious. From a distance, Seo-jun observed this heartwarming scene, and an idea began to form in his mind. He resolved to talk to Theo about purchasing some cute little outfits for the baby rabbits once he returned. As he imagined the baby rabbits dressed as a ship captain, a postman, and even a cute Cinderella, he couldn't help but chuckle. The mental image of these adorable baby rabbits in costumes brought a smile to his face. Yet he regretted that his phone's battery had run out, preventing him from capturing this charming scene for posterity. The scene shifted, and we found ox number 3 wandering through the vast lands with a heavy heart, a profound sadness etched on his face as he contemplated where he had discovered that extraordinary radish. His memories were foggy, and he couldn't recall anything that had happened since the arrival of the blue moon. What he did remember was that he had found the radish before the blue moon had graced the sky. In a flashback, we saw how the Ox King had reacted when he first laid eyes on the radish. The Ox King had gone absolutely wild with excitement. Clutching the radish in his massive hand, he had bombarded Ox number 3 with questions, demanding to know the origin of this peculiar root. However, Ox number 3's memory was hazy due to the effects of the blue moon, and all he could manage was a sweet, innocent smile. He admitted that he had discovered the radish somewhere outside the Ox King's territory, but couldn't remember precisely where. The Ox King had regarded the radish skeptically at first, but then, as if seized by an irresistible urge, he had taken a big bite. He chewed the radish slowly, his eyes wide, and the other oxen watched in envy with drool on their chins. Then, the unexpected occurred. The Ox King let out a resounding moo, his eyes bulging as if they might pop out of their sockets. He began to breathe heavily, and drool cascaded from his mouth. With both arms raised high, he shouted that the more he chewed this root, the sweeter it became. Incredibly, as he consumed the radish, his muscles began to bulge and grow, transforming him into a veritable mountain of muscle, all from the power of a single radish. Then, with heavy excitement, the Ox King grabbed Ox number 3's shoulder and started shaking him, asking him if he had to dig the ground or fly in the sky. He had to find the place from where he got this magical root, as the future of the Minotaur clan depended on it. He ordered Ox number 3 to find this place in the name of the pride of all the oxen, while Ox number 3 stood there confused. Now we're back in the present, and Ox number 3 stood expressionless, contemplating what to do next. After traveling for a while, he reached the border of the Ox King's territory and explained that one step from here, and the territory of the Crimson Bear would begin. He had no idea what would happen if the bear found him. Just as he pondered his next move, something unexpected occurred. Ox number 3 suddenly smelled a sweet fragrance in the air. Without knowing it, he instinctively followed the scent, and soon found himself in front of a farmland where Seo-jun had just planted peanuts and covered them with corn leaves. Seeing these green plants, Ox number 3 was shocked and bewildered. He immediately started eating some of them and gathered the plants. Before he could do anything more, the sweetness of the corn plant melted in his mouth, and he exclaimed how delicious it was. Without wasting a moment, he started gathering the crops. With each bite and every plant he harvested, Ox number 3's happiness grew. A radiant smile crossed his face as he considered what kind of plant this could be. He couldn't help but think of the joy the Ox King would experience upon seeing this bounty. With unmatched enthusiasm, Ox number 3 collected all the corn plants. Holding them high and dancing with glee, he made his way back into his territory. The sweet treasures he carried would surely bring immense delight to the Ox King and the entire Minotaur clan. Meanwhile, the Crimson Bear in her nest sensed something amiss. She abruptly stood up, fully alert, causing the baby bear who was sleeping beside her to tumble onto the ground. Confused and still half asleep, the baby bear wondered why his mother had awakened so suddenly. The mother bear was furious, her eyes blazing with anger, emitting a terrifying aura. On the other side, the tower manager was sipping Seo Jun's special juice while enjoying a hot bath in the spa. This spa was designed for adults, but due to her smaller size, she hadn't been able to use it until now. With her increased thickness, she finally got to savor its warmth. However, her relaxation was interrupted when she noticed someone calling out to her. At first, annoyance clouded her face as she wondered who had the audacity to disturb her bath. But when she saw that it was the Crimson Bear, her anger subsided. She inquired about what had happened with the bear. Upon learning that someone had invaded her territory, the tower manager's shock was evident, and her mouth hung open. Meanwhile, Seo Jun was in a deep slumber, completely unaware of the unfolding events. He lay on a bed made of onion leaves, with an eye cover crafted from the same leaves, and a trail of drool trickled from the corner of his mouth. It was the tower manager who eventually roused him from his peaceful sleep. As Seo Jun slowly opened his eyes, the tower manager hurriedly informed him about the Crimson Bear's report. Someone had invaded her territory and approached his cave. At that very moment, the Crimson Bear herself arrived near Seo Jun's cave, calling out for him. Seo Jun, feeling a bit anxious, contemplated his next move. Eventually, he decided to step outside with all his rabbit friends to investigate. To his relief, he found that his peanuts were unharmed this time, and the farmland was intact. However, there was a major problem. All the corn plants had mysteriously vanished. Someone had stolen every single one, leaving Seo Jun in complete shock. The sickle rabbit appeared disheartened, clutching a corn leaf, while one of the white rabbits seemed a bit frightened, as all their hard work had seemingly gone to waste. Seo Jun, perplexed and frustrated, held his head in his hands, wondering who could have done this and what to do next. Meanwhile, Theo had just arrived on the 38th floor, where he cheerfully greeted the hunters, unaware of the dangers awaits him. So, what do you think? Will the Ox King invade Seo Jun? When will the Queen Bee hatch? And what will happen to Theo? We will get to know in the next video. Thanks for watching, and give a purple heart if you watched till here. Goodbye. This is the story of Seo Jun, where he grew stronger by farming and evolving his pets by giving them his special juice, making them thick. Thick. What the? In the previous episode, we saw how everyone worked together to cultivate the land above the ground. Seo Jun had bought peanut seeds for his farm. However, an unexpected turn of events occurred when Ox number 3 discovered Seo Jun's farm, stole all his corn leaves, and made a quick getaway. This act left the mommy bear and the tower manager furious, while Seo Jun and his rabbit buddies were left speechless, as their farm was once again destroyed. Now, Seo Jun, watching his farmland, was in deep thought. He noticed that this time, his land wasn't destroyed. It was just the corn leaves that were missing. Whoever or whatever did this had to be an intelligent creature. While he was fretting over this, Mommy Bear spoke up. She suggested to Seo Jun that it must be the work of the horn bastards. The mention of horns got Seo Jun thinking hard. He remembered hearing a sound like a cow on the blue moon day. If those creatures were behind this, it meant trouble. Seo Jun then had a word with the sad warrior rabbit. He told the little guy not to be down because it was actually a good thing the farm wasn't totally destroyed this time. They just took the corn leaves, and they could always cover the peanut seeds again with the tomato leaves from the cave. Mommy Bear, trying to make Seo Jun feel better, promised to step up her game. She said she'd be more alert from now on, patrol the area more, and even expand her territory. Seo Jun gave her a grateful smile and thanked her for being so solid. But then, giving the baby bear a gentle pat, Seo Jun gave Mommy Bear a friendly warning. He appreciated all her hard work, but didn't want her to overdo it. Health comes first, he said, and Mommy Bear nodded, understanding what he meant. So guys, today's goal is 5,000 likes. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. Now let's continue. Now, with the mommy bear off patrolling, Seo-jun was left feeling concerned. He reflected, let's just be satisfied that no one is hurt. But he knew he needed to prepare for the future. While patting the baby bear, Seo-jun clenched his fist and spoke with confidence. He declared that he had to become powerful to protect himself and everyone from outside dangers. The baby bear looked puzzled, not understanding the gravity of the situation. Meanwhile, the warrior rabbit was ready to face anyone who dared to threaten their farm again. The scene shifted, and we saw the white worker rabbits gently placing corn leaves on top of the beautiful white cocoon of the queen bee. They carefully arranged them in a basket made with onion leaves. Seo-jun expressed his gratitude to the white rabbits for their help, and they waved in response. Seo-jun was seated on a chair made with onion leaves and wood, shading himself with an umbrella made of onion leaves. Beneath him was the basket containing the queen bee's cocoon. Seo-jun gazed at the cocoon with excitement, knowing that today was the day the queen bee would hatch, and he would become her daddy. He planned to spend the entire day beside the cocoon, and had left all the farming work to the farmer rabbits. Seo-jun went on to explain that the system had informed him that when the queen bee's cocoon hatches, the first person she sees would become her daddy. He lounged in his comfy chair, nibbling on some dried sweet potato, and continued. Currently, there were around 200 honeybees in the colony. When the new queen bee hatches, she would establish her own colony, dramatically increasing the total number of honeybees, and he can control them all using his beekeeping skill, adding an extra layer of protection. Beside him, there were some cherry tomatoes and sweet potato flowers displayed. Despite many hours passing, the queen bee had yet to hatch. Seo-jun, feeling drowsy, began to yawn. He held a cherry tomato flower in his right hand and a sweet potato flower in his left. With a warm smile, he thought about offering these flowers as a welcome gift to the new queen bee once she hatched. Then, a curious question crossed his mind. Which of these flowers would the queen bee like more? However, despite his best efforts to stay awake, sleep overcame him. Seo-jun drifted off into a deep slumber, his mouth hanging open, and he began to drool. In his sleep, he mumbled, "I like thick bee." Then, something entirely unexpected occurred. The queen bee's cocoon began to tremble slightly. As moments passed, the shaking intensified, causing a crack to form on the cocoon's surface. From within that crack, a brilliant yellow light began to radiate, growing larger and more vibrant with every passing second. Multiple cracks emerged, creating an intricate pattern on the cocoon's surface. All the while, Seo-jun remained blissfully unaware in his deep slumber. After a relentless struggle, the dazzling light slowly subsided, leaving the entire basket in a gentle tremor. And then, a tiny hand emerged, delicately removing the remaining corn leaves from the basket. Finally, our queen bee had hatched. She was overflowing with joy and excitement, buzzing with life. The newly hatched queen bee inspected her tiny hands and body while receiving a notification from the system, indicating that she was the second generation of queen bee. But then, something else caught her attention. She turned and saw something. Her curiosity piqued, and with a swift push, she took flight with her thick body. Landing gently on Seo-jun's chest, she stretched her body and curiously examined Seo-jun's face with her mouth slightly agape. After gazing at Seo-jun for a moment, the system delivered the crucial notification. The newborn queen bee had officially recognized Seo-jun as her daddy. In response, she gave a warm, contented smile, her buzzing filled with happiness as she attempted to wake Seo-jun up, her newfound daddy. However, Seo-jun remained in a deep slumber, undisturbed by the joyful commotion around him. Then she noticed the cherry tomato flower that Seo-jun had prepared for her. Holding it in her hand, she blushed a little, her eyes sparkling with happiness. From inside the cave, our queen bee buzzed out, startling the new little queen bee. Our queen bee happily greeted her child, and as the new queen bee stared at her, she realized that this majestic bee was her mother. The mother queen bee began to speak, and the new queen bee listened attentively, nodding her head in understanding. Meanwhile, Seo-jun was still sleeping, oblivious to the joyful reunion happening in the cave. It seemed like nothing could wake him up. Mother and child queen bees started to fly, and we saw them joyfully circling around the cave. The baby queen bee followed her mommy closely, and the mother bee couldn't stop smiling as she watched over her child. All the while, Seo-jun remained in peaceful slumber. The baby queen bee finally greeted her mother, and her mother warmly returned the greeting. The baby bee buzzingly flew towards Seo-jun with an excited and happy expression, even though he was still sleeping. She approached Seo-jun's face and began rubbing her cheek against his, her tiny body filled with joy. In response to this unexpected wake-up call, Seo-jun mumbled, "Bee, and slowly woke up. Startled and confused, Seo-jun was met with multiple system notifications. As his sleepiness vanished, he was shocked by what he read. The system notified him that the new queen bee had recognized him as her daddy, and his beekeeping skill had leveled up from 2 to 3. This left Seo-jun both puzzled and intrigued. He desperately looked around, searching for the queen bee, expressing how badly he wanted to see her. The scene then shifted, and we saw that ox number 3 had finally brought the corn leaves and proudly presented them to the Minotaur King. The confused Minotaur King asked where he found them. Ox number 3 explained that he had acquired them from the Crimson Bear's territory, where there was an abandoned area with these leaves. The Minotaur King carefully examined the corn leaves, noting that they looked different from what he had eaten before. These plants were unfamiliar to him, and they appeared too scarce to be shared with others. Then we learned that ox number 3 had eaten all the corn leaves while returning, and he could only manage to bring back a single corn leaf. Hearing this, the Minotaur King was left speechless, his face filled with annoyance and uncertainty about how to react. Now, returning to the present, the Minotaur King held a piece of the green corn leaf in his hand, clenching his fist with a sad expression. He acknowledged that their clan had a big appetite, so it was understandable. Out of curiosity, the Minotaur King decided to take a small bite of the corn leaf, noting its sweet aroma. However, the moment he chewed the corn leaf, an electrifying sensation surged through his body and a thick white saliva oozed from his mouth. With sparkling eyes and a delighted expression, he exclaimed that it was incredibly delicious, almost divine. He felt an overflow of energy. With great excitement and wide-open eyes, the Minotaur King patted ox number 3 on the shoulder, praising him for his discovery. He expressed that if they could somehow obtain a large supply of this grass, their clan wouldn't suffer from food shortages anymore. If they could cultivate it on their land, all their problems would be solved. However, with a serious expression and a gaze directed to the south, the Minotaur King pondered how this magical grass grew in the Crimson Bear's territory and how they could obtain more of it. Then his expression became sad as he mentioned how badly he wanted to go there and bring back as much of this magical grass as possible. However, he couldn't go to other monsters' territory while leaving the waypoint, as other monsters might attack them, and they were currently weak, so his clan members would not be able to survive. The Minotaur King urgently summoned ox number 3, who arrived in a panic, fearing he would receive a scolding for eating the corn leaves. The Minotaur King pointed his finger toward ox number 3 and shouted, making it clear that his new mission was to find the exact source of this magical grass. His excited face turned serious as he continued, emphasizing that if ox number 3 discovered that someone was intentionally growing this magical grass, he needed to find out their identity. Before the Minotaur King could finish his sentence, ox number 3 intervened. He raised his hand and began to yawn, his eyes closing as he explained that after eating so much grass, he was feeling incredibly sleepy, and he mentioned that he intended to take a nap before proceeding. Hearing this, the Minotaur King swiftly pulled out his great axe and shouted at ox number 3 to hurry and leave, threatening to cut him into pieces, and ox number 3 ran as fast as he could, saying he will sleep when he get back from his mission. The scene then shifted, and we saw that Theo had reached the 38th floor. Dongshik and his companions rushed toward Theo, accompanied by other hunters. The hunters questioned why Theo was late, speculating that he might have gone to another floor to sell his goods. Theo stood proudly and apologized, explaining that he had some important matters to attend to. He hinted that he had brought something special, surprising everyone. Dongshik asked Theo what could be more special than his already exceptional cherry tomatoes. Theo proudly revealed a red cherry tomato, emphasizing that it was even more special than his usual ones, as it's a D-rank cherry tomato. The sight of the D-rank cherry tomato left everyone in shock. Amid the astonishment, the big melon girl couldn't help but express her delight, finding Theo's reaction adorable. Each person held a piece of the D-rank cherry tomato, closely examining it. He discovered that this tomato reduced 20 grams of fat, twice the usual 10 grams, increased mana boost from 0.1 to 0.2, and had a longer shelf life of 60 days. Dongshik, in a state of speechlessness, contemplated the potential impact of this magical cherry tomato once it left the tower. He foresaw that it could cause quite a stir outside. Without further ado, Theo proudly unveiled a bucket made of onion leaves, filled to the brim with D-rank cherry tomatoes. He announced that he would be selling a total of 2,000 cherry tomatoes in batches of 400. with 5 rounds in total. As soon as he finished speaking, the hunters began bidding fervently. The initial bid of 70 quickly escalated to 90 and beyond. After an intense hour, the auction concluded, and Theo had successfully sold all his cherry tomatoes. Holding bags filled with tower coins, he chuckled with flushed cheeks. He declared that with this trade, his profits would exceed 1,000 tower coins. Moreover, it would enable him to register as a high-grade wandering merchant. Standing proudly, Theo held his head high and laughed heartily. He stated that once he achieved the status of a high-grade wandering merchant, all restrictions would be lifted. He looked forward to the day when Seo Jun's crops would be mentioned in the system notifications as desired by Seo Jun himself. He even jestingly contemplated that Seo Jun might confer upon him the title of chairman, granting him the authority to command Seo Jun. As Theo was lost in his daydreams, the big melon girl approached him and asked if he wanted to take a picture with her. Theo, with a hint of arrogance, thought to himself that he must be so famous that everyone wants to be around him as soon as they spot him. He opened his eyes with a flourish, proudly extending his paw. He confidently declared that anyone who wanted to touch his paws should form a line and be prepared with a suitable reward. However, before he could finish his sentence, he realized that only the big melon girl stood before him. She wore an awkward expression, and behind her, there was nothing but the wind-blown leaf. Perplexed, Theo started searching for the crowd, wondering where his adoring fans were. The big melon girl explained that because Theo hadn't been on the 38th floor for days and their food supplies were running low, most of the residents had left. Only a few remained. Hearing this, Theo was shocked, his mouth hanging open. He felt a pang of hurt pride because it seemed that no one wanted to touch his paws anymore. To console him, the big melon girl offered Theo some churros, explaining that it wasn't that he was unpopular. People had left due to the shortage of supply. Theo, with an innocent and sad expression, gazed at his paws, wondering if they no longer had the power to attract people. He had hoped to receive many things from humans in exchange for letting them touch his paws, which would have boosted his chances of becoming a chairman. But now it seemed like that might not happen. Just then, 2 girls approached Theo, excitedly exclaiming that he was Theo, the wandering cat. They came closer, stating that Theo was just as cute as they had seen on Instagram. They asked if they could also take pictures with him. Now Theo was utterly confused, asking the 2 girls what this Instagram thing was all about. With enthusiasm, the girls eagerly showed their phone screens to Theo and began explaining everything about smartphones and Instagram. As they went on, Theo's eyes sparkled with great excitement. He suddenly got a brilliant idea. With that, the episode came to an end. So if you've been watching up to this point, give a green heart in the comments. Goodbye. This is the story of Seo Jun, where he grew stronger by farming and evolving his pets by giving them his special juice, making them thick. Thick. What the? In the previous episode, we witnessed the hatching of our new queen bee. As soon as she hatched, she affectionately approved Seo Jun as her daddy and rubbed her cheek against Seo Jun's. Following this adorable moment, she met with the mommy queen bee, and they both had a wonderful time together. However, just before Seo Jun woke up, the baby queen bee flew away, leaving him bewildered. Afterward, upon sniffing and tasting the corn leaves from the Minotaur King, he went absolutely wild, feeling like he was experiencing the effects of marijuana. In his state of euphoria, he ordered Ox number 3 to go and find the person responsible for growing this magical marijuana plant, no matter what. Meanwhile, Theo had a brilliant idea after seeing 2 girls' phones where his photos were posted on Instagram. Now, Theo was looking at his Instagram profile where multiple photos of him were posted, and he had amassed 23,040 followers. Curiously, he turned to the big melon girl and asked if the 2 girls came to find him because they saw his images on an app called Instagram. The big melon girl explained that yes, and she apologized sincerely for uploading Theo's images without his permission. Theo continued to stare at the Instagram profile in complete silence, while the big melon girl stood there anxiously, worrying that Theo might be angry about the unauthorized uploads. Before she could say anything, Theo suddenly turned and exclaimed, "Of course she should be sorry. Why didn't she tell me something like this existed?" The big melon girl was taken aback, wondering how to calm Theo's apparent anger. However, before she could respond, Theo placed one hand on his head and struck a cute pose, extending one foot forward. He then handed the phone back to the big melon girl, instructing her to hurry up and start taking pictures of him to upload to Instagram. This unexpected reaction left the big melon girl utterly shocked and clueless about what to do next. Then Theo started giving multiple poses, ranging from cool and confident to cute and innocent, making it look like he was asking for help. He stretched both his hands, winked mischievously, and struck a naughty pose. The big melon girl continued to take picture after picture as Theo posed enthusiastically. After hours of taking pictures, even the big melon girl started melting at Theo's cool poses, calling them too cute and adorable. Theo told the big melon girl that she could do whatever she wanted with the photos of him once she reached home at bathroom. But for now, she should focus on taking more pictures. Finally, Theo struck a killer pose, raising both of his hands and winking his right eye. He announced that if anyone wanted to meet this cute and cool wandering merchant, Theo, they could find him on the 38th floor. He urged everyone watching the video to follow him on Instagram before coming to meet him. With a playful threat, he counted down from 3, 2, 1, and exclaimed that everyone should subscribe to the channel, or he would be mad at them, and today's goal was set at 5,000 likes, so please like and subscribe the channel. After the intense photo shoot session, Theo was heading back to Seojun, stretching his arms and feeling quite satisfied. He mentioned how the photo shoot went well, and how crazy it was that 23,000 people were now following him on Instagram. He wondered what would happen if even more people started following him and coming to him after watching the video. With confidence, Theo stated that he could already hear the sounds of hunters rushing to meet him. He planned to seize this opportunity to gain maximum rewards, and at this rate, he believed he could reach the chairman position in no time. Theo began to laugh, his cheeks turning red as he daydreamed about how he would command Seojun once he became the chairman. However, his daydream was abruptly interrupted as a strong gust of wind nearly pushed Theo back. He clutched his ears in irritation and demanded to know who it was. He had worked hard to straighten his fur, but now everything seemed ruined. Angrily, Theo turned around to find two giant silver-furred wolves, each standing at 5 meters tall with large claws glaring at him. Upon seeing the two giant wolves, Theo's face turned pale, and he quickly assumed a defensive position, looking terrified. But things were about to get worse for Theo. He heard loud footsteps behind him, and as he slowly turned back, he saw an even larger wolf than the previous two. This wolf stood at a towering 7 meters tall and glared at Theo with a deadly, serious expression that seemed to promise his imminent demise. Theo was too frightened to utter a single word, standing there with his mouth open, sweat covering his entire body. The 7-meter wolf smashed its giant claws beside Theo, shaking the ground. With an angry and fierce look, the silver wolf leader slowly brought its head closer to Theo, growling and displaying its sharp teeth. In a deep voice, it asked Theo if he was the wandering merchant who had bought the straw hat at the smithy in the merchant district. But Theo was so scared that even the slightest growl might make him pee himself at that moment. Theo, still shaking, finally gathered the courage to speak, though his voice trembled. He tried to say something, but the words were barely coming out of his mouth. Seeing Theo's unresponsiveness, the silver wolf leader growled loudly, using a threatening tone to demand answers from him. It addressed Theo as a puny cat and demanded to know where the straw hat he had bought in the smithy was now. The leader warned Theo that if he remained silent, they would tear him apart and chop him into small pieces. The other two wolves joined in, growling and menacingly threatening Theo. He was in a terrible condition, already scared out of his wits, and now he had started to cry. But then, something unexpected happened. Suddenly, a rock-like object flew and landed between them, startling everyone. From that peculiar stone, a foul smell began to emanate, filling the entire area. The silver wolves had highly sensitive noses, so the stinky smell overwhelmed them. They closed their eyes and blocked their noses to escape the unpleasant odor. Even Theo had to hold his nose, as the smell was too strong for him. From the midst of the smoky, foul-smelling cloud, a mysterious figure appeared, glaring at Theo. Suddenly, the mysterious figure grabbed Theo's hand, startling him. She introduced herself as Zerath, the newbie merchant whom Theo had helped before. Then she placed her finger to her lips, signaling Theo to remain silent. In the next moment, as the wolves were occupied trying to cope with the smell, Zerath, still holding Theo's hand, started running into the jungle. Theo followed her with a surprised expression on his face. As the smoke screen slowly faded away, the wolves noticed Theo and someone else running. Seeing this, the wolf leader shouted at them to stop. warning that things would not end well for them. He hurriedly ordered his subordinates to follow and capture them no matter what. However, the two subordinates were lying on the ground, holding their noses and shouting for help to escape the stinky smell. They felt like they might die from the odor, leaving the wolf leader standing alone, holding his head and wincing in discomfort. This time, they had failed to catch Theo, and their mission had failed due to that mysterious figure. The scene then shifted, showing Theo and Zareth standing in the middle of the jungle, trying to catch their breath. Theo was still panting heavily, while Zareth let out a sigh of relief. She mentioned that they wouldn't be able to chase them for now, at least. Theo, with a worried expression, thanked Zareth, stating that something terrible would have happened to him if it weren't for her. Zareth replied with a smile, saying it was nothing, as Theo had also saved her once when she was in trouble. It was only natural for her to help Theo in return when he was in trouble. Hearing this, Theo happily started patting Zareth's shoulder, saying she is the nicest person he has met in the tower since his first crush. However, he added that he's a changed man now, a Giga Chad, and they should remain best friends, nothing more. Then Theo asked Zareth if she liked grilled fish and suggested they could go for a little walk. As they talked for a while, Zareth, seeing that Theo had become a little more comfortable with her, asked if Theo would be kind enough to give her some guidance on how to become a great merchant like him. Theo prepared his bag and replied that it's no problem at all. He will definitely guide Zareth, and they should go now, and with that, Zareth thanked Theo. Then, as they walked together, Zareth suggested to Theo that they should head to the merchant district, and she knew the best shortcut to get there quickly. However, Theo replied that first, he needed to go to the merchant guild and apply for a promotion to become a first-class mid-level merchant. After that, they could go to the merchant district and enjoy grilled fish. Hearing this, Zareth was genuinely shocked, and in her astonishment, she held her mouth and exclaimed, "Did Theo say first-class, mid-level merchant?" She then asked in a surprised tone how Theo, who was just a low-level merchant when she last met him, had reached the level of first-class mid-level merchant in just 1 month. Moreover, Theo had been a newbie only a few months ago. Upon hearing this, Theo maintained a neutral expression and asked Zareth how she knew that he was a newbie a few months ago. Zareth realized she had revealed more information than she should have and started to panic, realizing that she couldn't afford to be caught as an agent of the Wandering Merchant Secret Police Force, or her mission would not be completed. Then, Theo folded both his arms, looking suspicious, and asked Zareth why she was acting strangely and seemed suspicious. Zareth, trying to maintain a neutral expression, attempted to explain that it wasn't what Theo was thinking. But before she could say anything more, Theo shouted in anger, calling Scarum a bastard, and revealed that Scarum had divulged all the information about Theo when they first met. Bewildered by the situation, Zareth replied that yes, it was indeed Scarum who had shared everything about Theo without being asked for it. Hearing this, Theo became even angrier and started cursing Scarum, vowing to teach him a lesson when they met. Zareth, on the other hand, felt relieved that Theo appeared to be innocent and easy to manipulate. Then Zareth, with an innocent face, asked Theo how he managed to gather 1,000 tower coins in such a short period of time. She mentioned that it was an amount she couldn't even imagine making in her entire life as a low-grade merchant. She was curious about what Theo was selling to earn so many tower coins. On the flip side, Zareth felt a little worried. She wondered if Theo would be willing to share his trade secrets. She suspected that there might be someone very powerful behind Theo, providing him with premium products for trade. She believed that this item could be very dangerous or even illegal. If she found out about this item, she planned to arrest the backer first and give Theo a lighter punishment, as he seemed somewhat innocent and manipulated by the mysterious backer. Then Theo, with an innocent face, replied, "I sell cherry tomatoes, Naya." Hearing the words, cherry tomatoes, Zareth first stood in her place in a state of shock and surprise, trying to process what she had just heard. Then, with a puzzled and surprised expression, her mouth open in disbelief, she asked, "Is Theo trying to say those round little red fruits that thing?" Theo confirmed by saying, "Yes, it's the exact same thing." Theo then attempted to check his bag to find a cherry tomato, but he had sold them all that day. He promised Zareth that he would show her what a cherry tomato looked like the next time they met. With that, Theo started moving forward, suggesting that they should go, as the giant wolf might return if they stayed in the same place for too long. Zareth remained in a state of shock, her mouth still open without saying anything. Finally, Zareth came to her senses, pondering how in the world Theo could have earned 1,000 tower coins by selling nothing but cherry tomatoes. Was Theo lying? However, he didn't seem like the type of guy who would tell a lie. Zareth continued to follow Theo, her serious expression revealing her determination to unravel the mystery of how Theo had made 1,000 tower coins by selling mere cherry tomatoes. Meanwhile, outside the tower in the gourmet company, the CEO was holding a D-grade cherry tomato, observing it closely. He decided to taste the cherry tomato, maintaining a serious expression, and commented that this cherry tomato indeed tasted more delicious than the E-grade one. Then he turned to see a person slowly placing a cherry tomato plant full of cherry tomatoes on a table. The chairman inquired if there was any good news, and Jenny, with a smiling face, replied that as he could see, the seed they planted from the E-grade cherry tomato had grown into a normal cherry tomato plant. The chairman, gazing at the cherry tomatoes, expressed that he had expected as much as the item was from the tower, making it impossible to grow on Earth. He then inquired about the progress of the farming project on the first floor, to which Jenny confidently replied that they had already sown 100 E-grade cherry tomatoes on the first floor, and 10 plants had already germinated and were ready to harvest. Hearing the chairman's words, he became genuinely happy and praised Jenny, acknowledging her hard work. Jenny, in return, credited the chairman for making it all possible. The chairman mentioned that he had already hired top-grade hunters to protect the farmland on the first floor, and once they successfully grew the cherry tomatoes, he would become the richest man on Earth. Meanwhile, Seo-jun was busy harvesting the cherry tomatoes, with the queen bee sitting on his head. All his rabbit friends were helping him, unaware of what was happening outside the tower. So the episode ends here. Comment part 31 in the comments, and thanks for watching. This is the story of Seo-jun, where he grew stronger by farming and evolving his pets by giving them his special juice, making them thick. Thick. What the? In the previous episode, we saw how Theo, after encountering Instagram for the first time, got a brilliant idea. He proceeded to take multiple cute photos of himself alongside the big melon girl. Then he recorded a video of himself striking a cute pose and announced that anyone who wanted to meet him could do so on the 38th floor. As Theo was on his way home to Seo-jun, an unexpected incident occurred. A group of Silver Tribe wolves attacked Theo and began to threaten him, demanding information about the straw hat. They made it clear that if Theo didn't comply, they would kill him. The situation was on the brink of turning chaotic when something unforeseen happened. A smokescreen enveloped the entire area, and police officer Zareth came to Theo's rescue. She managed to save him from the dire situation. Meanwhile, the CEO of the government company and Jenny were filled with joy as they celebrated their successful planting of magical cherry tomato seeds on the first floor of the tower. They believed that this move would allow them to mass-produce the magical cherry tomatoes. The scene then shifts, and we see a wandering merchant officer handing Theo a silver token. Theo happily holds the coin in his hands, and the officer warmly congratulates Theo for getting promoted to a high mid-level merchant. Theo, filled with excitement and wearing a warm smile, raises his hand and proudly shouts that he has finally become a high mid-level merchant. Today's like goal is 5,100 likes. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. Now let's continue. Theo turns back, proudly showing his silver badge around his chest, and smiles as Zerath congratulates him, calling him the best. Theo replies with a thankful nod and mentions that their work is done for now, and they need to head to the trading market. He has something important to buy. Upon hearing the term trading market, Zareth's facial expression turns serious. She knows that the trading market is a place where only mid-high level merchants and higher level merchants can enter. It's one of the largest trading arenas in the entire tower. In this trading market, there's an auction house where one can buy various items, ranging from farming equipment to crafting materials to even underwear and condoms. You can find almost anything there as long as you're willing to pay for it. After a while, Theo and Zareth finally reached the trading hall. As Zareth followed Theo from behind, she couldn't help but feel a bit worried. While Theo walked confidently without a care in the world, Zareth narrowed her eyes in deep thought. This place was unlike the low-level markets that Theo used to visit. It was on a whole different level compared to the junkyards Theo frequented. Zareth was genuinely curious about what skills Theo would use in this new environment. However, before she could finish her thoughts, Theo suddenly stopped, announcing that they had reached their destination. He seemed genuinely interested in the shop in front of him. As Zareth glanced at the shop, she noticed a pouch symbol on the signboard. She then realized this was just an ordinary shop selling daily household items. Without wasting any time, Theo and Zareth entered the shop. Theo picked up a saw, some needles, threads, a frying pan, and a pot, placing them on the counter. He asked the store owner about the total cost for all these items. Zareth continued to observe Theo, and she couldn't help but notice that the store owner was a hyena with big teeth and sharp claws. Before Theo could say anything further, Zareth started speaking. She asked if Theo was buying these household items to resell them on other floors at a higher price. She expressed her concern, saying it was a really bad idea because these items were not in demand and no one would buy them. Theo casually replied that these items were not for resale. He needed them for someone else. He emphasized that he only sold cherry tomatoes for a living. Hearing this, Zareth frustratedly held her head and exclaimed, "Cherry tomatoes again!" She was clearly stressed, thinking back to when Theo had told her that he had reached a high-level mid-merchant status and collected 1,000 tower coins by selling cherry tomatoes. At that time, she had thought Theo was just messing with her, as he didn't want to reveal his merchant secrets. Now, she wasn't sure if he was telling the truth or not. The store owner, Heine, with a smiling face, said, "The total bill is 2.4 tower coins only." Zareth, upon hearing this amount, paused for a moment. Then she glanced at the utensils with an annoyed face, thinking that these pots and needles were much cheaper than 2.4 tower coins. Even if you combined all the things that Theo had bought, their total bill should not be more than 2 tower coins. In her imagination, she pictured the store owner, Heine, wearing a heavy suit of armor with a wicked smile, while Theo stood there in poor armor looking like a novice who didn't know anything. She concluded by saying that the store owner was ripping Theo off. With a serious expression, Zareth was pondering how Theo would counter this professional merchant. But before she could come up with any ideas, a voice echoed saying, "Give me a discount." In her imagination, she saw Theo launching an attack on the Heine shop owner. In one swift slash, Theo disarmed the store owner, leaving him in shock. Then, she saw Theo in reality slamming his hand on the store counter and demanding a discount with a dead serious expression, glaring into the stone owner's eyes. This left Zareth speechless, with her mouth hanging open. She had expected Theo to use some mighty merchant skill, but he was just being reckless once again. The Heine store owner, still maintaining his warm smile, replied that he was already selling the goods at the lowest possible price. He suggested that Theo could go and check the market prices at other stores, as they were also selling at the same price. He emphasized that the quality of the goods in his store was the best in the entire trading market, making the price reasonable. Theo, however, just stood there, glaring at the store owner without uttering a single word. After a while, still maintaining his sweet smile, the store owner, while rubbing his hands, decided to make an offer. He mentioned that since Theo was new to his store and appeared to be a gentleman and a nice guy, he would give a big discount and sell all the goods for 2.2 tower coins. But from Zareth's perspective, the Heine store owner appeared to be smiling wickedly and excitedly, attempting to overcharge Theo for the products. She explained that this store owner was playing a mental game where they initially set high prices for goods and then gradually reduced them, making customers believe they were getting a good deal when, in reality, they were being fooled into paying higher prices. Zareth imagined the store owner with deadly red eyes brutally attacking Theo, with Theo barely dodging the attacks. With a worried expression, Zareth thought that this store owner was not easygoing and was definitely a veteran merchant. This time, Theo might not get away unscathed. However, a voice echoed around the shop, demanding more of a discount with a deep tone. In Zareth's imagination, she saw Theo forcefully slashing the store owner's armor with his shabby sword. Back in reality, Theo continued to shout for a bigger discount, leaving the store owner bewildered and unsure of what to do next. The store owner, Heine, with a poker face, replied to Theo that he was already selling the goods at wholesale prices and barely making any profit from the trade. He explained that since Theo seemed like a nice guy, he couldn't lower the price any further. Theo, realizing that the store owner was not lowering the price, Theo decided to use the legendary technique that Seo Jun had taught him. He referred to it as the technique that every Asian mom uses, the ultimate bargain technique of moms, and with that, Theo turned and began walking away. With a confident tone, he stated that he didn't want to buy anything and would just go home. He called for Zareth to come with him, leaving her clearly confused by the unfolding events. Meanwhile, the store owner was left even more confused and shocked by this unexpected turn of events. Then, Zareth stopped Theo and asked him with a worried tone why he wasn't going to buy the goods. Theo, still maintaining his confident demeanor, replied that since the store owner wasn't offering a bigger discount, he would buy the products, but he had seen another shop nearby where he could definitely get a better deal. Hearing this, the store owner became annoyed, let out a sigh, and stopped Theo. He remarked that Theo was impatient and had lost the bargaining battle. He agreed to sell all the goods for 2 tower coins, so Theo didn't have to go to the store next door. However, Theo simply glared at the store owner confidently, came closer, and raised his hand. In an arrogant tone, he declared that he would only buy the products for 1.8 tower coins, or else he would leave the shop. This statement left Zareth in shock, her soul seemingly leaving her body as she stood there, like a statue. The store owner, thinking that Theo was not to be underestimated and looked like a professional merchant, considered future potential trades and decided to maintain a friendly relationship. He reluctantly agreed to sell all the goods for 1.8 tower coins, even though he didn't want to. Theo happily thanked the store owner, while Zareth remained in a speechless stupor. In the next moment, as Theo was making the payment and chatting with the store owner, Zareth stood behind, still in a state of shock. She couldn't help but wonder what legendary technique Theo had used to defeat the store owner, a professional merchant who had lost to Theo, a new high mid-level merchant. Zareth's imagination ran wild as she envisioned Theo standing triumphantly on the defeated store owner, holding his sword on his shoulder with a confident smile. Now, seeing all this, Zareth was just wondering. Zareth herself was from a noble merchant family, and she received bargaining education from an early age. But she had never heard or seen something like this. Glaring at the confident Theo, who had completed all his purchases, she said they should leave the shop now. She was thinking, is this naive-looking cat really a pro merchant? Did Theo really make 1,000 tower coins just by selling cherry tomatoes? If that's true, then this is surely a historical moment of a genius merchant being born. Meanwhile, Theo was smiling with his heart content, and he was singing in his mind, happy that the discount trick Seo Jun had taught him had worked. He had also bought all the things that Seo Jun had told him to buy. Then the scene shifted, and we saw Theo and Zareth walking in the trading market. Suddenly, Zareth stopped and said that she would be leaving now. Theo turned back, asking why she was leaving so early and mentioning that they hadn't even had a meal. He was about to treat Zareth, but she replied with a kind and warm smile that she had already troubled Theo enough and didn't want to bother him further. She expressed her gratitude for everything she had learned from him, and apologized if she had caused any inconvenience or bothered him in any way. Theo looked confused and asked what she meant by teaching her anything special, as he didn't recall doing so. Then Zareth, still maintaining her smile, replied, "It's nothing." She then warned Theo to be careful from now on, as the Silver Wolf tribe might attack him again in the future. With this final goodbye, Zareth started walking away from Theo. He watched her go for a while and then, with a mischievous smile, said, "What a strange fox she was." Theo turned back, raised both his hands high, and started walking forward while singing and expressing his desire to return to the cave quickly for a good nap, as he was feeling really sleepy. The scene then shifted to the building of the Tower Police. Inside that building, Zareth was writing something. She stopped writing, closed her eyes, and sat at her chair. Just then, her assistant entered her room, informing her that the director wanted to meet Zareth to inquire about the stolen straw hat. Zareth handed a document to her assistant, indicating that she would visit the director. The assistant, after examining the document, asked Zareth if it was related to the wandering merchant cat they suspected of being a smuggler. Zareth, dressed in her police uniform, confirmed that it was. However, according to her investigation, she believed that Theo was not a smuggler but a genuinely good and honest merchant. She instructed her assistant to inform everyone not to spy on Theo and to let them know that Theo was innocent of smuggling. Zareth, fully dressed and looking out at the sky from her window with a proud smile, said, "For the first time in a long time I met a real merchant," while her assistant listened with a proud expression. Then the scene shifted, and we are back to Seo Jun. He was once again placing corn leaves on top of the peanut seeds, and the baby bear was helping him. After a few hours of hard work, they successfully covered the entire farm with corn leaves to lock in the moisture. Seo Jun stood there with a proud look, and the white rabbit was busy watering the peanut seeds. Suddenly, from behind Seo Jun, the warrior rabbit came rushing and shouting something in panic. The warrior rabbit was in a frenzy, trying to convey a message to Seo Jun, but Seo Jun couldn't understand a single word. Meanwhile, the chubby rabbit stood behind the warrior rabbit, raising both hands with a smile. After a while, Seo Jun finally understood that the warrior rabbit was pointing towards the ponds. Seo Jun, with the queen bee sitting on his shoulder, reached the pond and gazed at it intently, trying to figure out what was happening. The warrior rabbit and the cart were also fixated on the pond, and the white rabbit, looking a bit scared, was hiding beside Seo Jun's foot. Inside the pond, there were crayfish-like monsters with red and juicy bodies. As Seo-jun finally noticed the crayfish, he was deeply shocked and surprised. Seo-jun and all his monster pets were just staring at the mysterious crayfish in astonishment. Seo-jun wondered how these crayfish-like monsters had ended up in the pond. He pondered whether they had come through the hole he had seen a few days back. However, he immediately dismissed the thought and instead imagined a plate filled with delicious and juicy crayfish. He decided that he would make the most mouth-watering dish with these crayfish that no one had ever tasted before. As Seo-jun daydreamed about the delectable crayfish dish, he couldn't help but drool with anticipation. The white rabbit and the warrior rabbit were lost in their own fantasies, imagining the savory crayfish delights. The queen bee couldn't contain her excitement, looking forward to indulging in Seo-jun's special and juicy creation. Without wasting another minute, Seo-jun prepared to catch the crayfish. He took out his dagger, and the warrior rabbit wielded his hammer. Seo-jun stood there confidently, ready to attack the unsuspecting crayfish, who had no idea what was about to befall them. The other rabbit was equally excited, and the queen bee buzzed with anticipation. In the next moment, they began their hunt to capture and prepare the crayfish for a delicious meal. So with this, the video ends here. Please type part 32 inches in the comments. Thanks for watching. This is the story of Seo-jun, where he grew stronger by farming and evolving his pets by giving them his special juice, making them thick. In the previous episode, we saw how Theo, after receiving his high-level mid-merchant badge, went to the trading market, where only high-level merchants can enter. Zareth also followed Theo, hoping to figure out if he was truly a professional merchant or a scam. There, Zareth witnessed an intense battle between the store owner and Theo during bargaining. Theo employed the ultimate technique that Seo-jun had taught him, the Asian mom bargaining technique, and successfully defeated the store owner, leaving Zareth shocked. After this encounter, Zareth verified and wrote in her report that Theo was indeed a genuine pro-merchant. She realized that Theo's bargaining skills were even more advanced than her own, despite her noble merchant background. She marveled at how Theo, at such a young age, excelled in bargaining, surpassing her abilities. Meanwhile, in his cave, Seo-jun made a new discovery. Crawfish had somehow found their way to the pond, and Seo-jun and his buddies got excited as they planned to catch them and create incredible, tasty dishes. Immense concentration, held his dagger and stared at the crayfish. Behind him, the rabbit families watched him with curiosity. Then, the crayfish, after studying Seo-jun for a moment, suddenly lunged at him to attack. But Seo-jun was no longer the loser. His stats were all at high-level hunter. With a swift slash, he effortlessly killed all the crayfish that had leaped to attack him. The system notified Seo-jun that he had gained 30 XP, and the warrior rabbit was clapping in excitement, ready to join the fight. So guys, today's like goal is 6,800 likes. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. Now let's continue. Suddenly, more crayfish jumped towards Seo-jun to attack, and the warrior rabbit approached from behind, holding his hammer high with excitement. Seo-jun turned back and, with enthusiasm, ordered the warrior rabbit to deal with the crayfish. The warrior rabbit began a barrage of attacks, hammering the crayfish one by one, instantly defeating them without breaking a sweat. After a while, the chubby rabbit and the husband rabbit were transporting the dead crayfish in the cart. They were followed by the other rabbit, each carrying a dead crayfish one by one, and transporting them to a spot near the campfire. The sickle rabbit, armed with his razor sickle, prepared to peel the crayfish's skin. The wife rabbit and the baby rabbits watched from behind with anticipation and sparkling eyes. However, as the sickle rabbit tried to cut the shell of the crayfish, even after several attempts with all his might, he couldn't make a scratch on the crayfish's body. The mommy rabbits, noticing this, asked the sickle rabbit what happened and if there was something wrong with his sickle. The sickle rabbit nodded his head and explained that his sickle was fine, but the crayfish's shell was so strong that he couldn't pierce it. Seo-jun, holding 2 crayfish in his hand with a smile on his face, approached from behind and explained that even on Earth, it's really challenging to cut through the shell of a crayfish. In the tower, it seemed logical that the shells of the crayfish would be as hard as steel. So Seo-jun suggested cooking the crayfish on the campfire first. When the crayfish were fully cooked, their shells would loosen, making it easier to separate the meat from the shell. The sickle rabbit nodded in response. Then, Seo-jun unwrapped 3 more perfectly cooked crayfish and placed them in front of him on the onion leaves. He held one in his hand, ready to peel the skin off, and all the rabbits were waiting in anticipation. Seo-jun slowly applied gentle force to split the crayfish in half, and as he did, some of the juice started to splatter. The worker rabbit, the chubby rabbit, and the sickle rabbit stared in amazement with their mouths open. Finally, Seo-jun turned the crayfish's head and, with a gentle force, split the crayfish into 2 parts. Inside, the chewy and juicy golden meat sparkled. Seo-jun exclaimed in excitement with his mouth open, saying how juicy it looked. After smelling the heavenly scent of the meat, the rabbits were hypnotized and eagerly awaited their turn to take a bite. Seo-jun happily offered a portion of the crayfish's heavenly flesh, and they all took it excitedly, stretching out their hand. As they all took a bite, as much as the scent was delicious, the meat was even more delightful. They hadn't eaten something like this in their whole lives, and they were really happy. While savoring large bites of the crayfish, Seo-jun chewed the meat and commented on its taste. He mentioned that the crayfish tasted exactly the same as those on Earth, but with a bit more juiciness. The seasoning was perfect, with a hint of tanginess from the cherry tomatoes and a slight saltiness, making it incredibly delicious. Behind Seo-jun, his rabbit family was also enjoying their crayfish meals. The chubby rabbit was munching on a whole large piece, taking huge bites and wearing a joyful expression. Meanwhile, the wife rabbit was picking the empty shells of the crayfish. Seo-jun noticed this and stopped the wife rabbit, telling her not to throw away the shells as they could still be useful. The wife rabbit looked a bit confused and asked what he meant while holding a crayfish shell. Seo-jun picked up the crayfish head shell and explained that these seemingly wasteful shells contain delicious, fatty oils. He took a piece of crayfish flesh, dipped it into the fatty oil, and mentioned that eating the crayfish meat with this special juicy oil would enhance the taste by tenfold. As Seo-jun took a bite, he instantly regretted that he didn't have soju. If he did, this would be a really incredible combo. While the warrior rabbit watched Seo-jun eating this weird combination, he thought, why not? He also decided to try this strange-looking gooey substance from the crayfish's head. With courage, the warrior rabbit approached Seo-jun, and Seo-jun handed him some of the crayfish's oil. The warrior rabbit slowly dipped his hand into the weird oil. At first, it didn't look very appetizing to him, with its odd, sticky green appearance. He hesitated, having second thoughts about eating it. However, he decided to trust Seo-jun and took a lick of the strange substance. To his surprise, he instantly liked it. His eyes sparkled with delight as he discovered that it was nothing like he had expected. It was sweet and salty at the same time. Unable to resist, he started devouring the green oil mixed with crayfish organs and flesh. Seo-jun smiled warmly and advised the warrior rabbit to eat slowly, reminding him that the food wasn't going anywhere, and they had plenty more to enjoy. After that, we see Seo-jun preparing the crayfishes and asking his rabbit family if anyone wants more crayfish. The warrior rabbit is devouring the crayfish's brain while the chubby rabbit is busy eating his large share of crayfish, and the newly found crayfish's brain mixed with delicious oils. The mommy rabbit and the husband rabbit are busy feeding the baby rabbits, while the sickle rabbit watches with a little smile, and each and every one of them is really happy. Just then, from above the cave entrance, the baby bear comes shouting Seo-jun's name, which catches everyone's attention. Seo-jun, noticing the baby bear, tells the baby bear to wait, as he came at a really good time since they have many more crayfish, and he should also taste some. The baby bear, upon hearing this, starts cheering with both his hands up. After some time, Seo-jun cooks many crayfish and places them in front of the baby bear. The baby bear sees this delicious-looking meat and couldn't contain his excitement. Seo-jun, holding one crayfish in his hand, starts to explain to the baby bear that he has to first hold the crayfish's body and twist the head to separate the steel-like shell. Then he will be able to enjoy the meat inside. But before he could explain anything, the baby bear didn't listen and took a crayfish, munching on it like candy along with its steel-like shell. Seo-jun is left standing in shock, and in his shocked mental state, he just asks the baby bear if the meat is good. The baby bear nods in response with a bright, big smile, indicating that he likes it very much. Meanwhile, the scene shifts, and we are now on the second floor of the tower, the skeleton village. Here, the townhouses were burned and ruined, and hunters were mercilessly killing the skeleton villagers while the skeleton villagers were trying to run for their lives. All the skeleton villagers were running toward the village, from kid skeletons to women skeletons. While running, a skeleton villager fell, and the hunters were just behind them to kill them. The skeleton even begged the hunters to spare them, but the hunter with the dagger, with a single slash, chopped the skeleton's head, killing him instantly. The head of the skeleton flew and came toward the CEO of the gourmet company. Upon seeing the skeleton in anger and disgust, the CEO of the gourmet company smashed the skull under his foot. While looking at the scared and dead and running skeletons, he started to smile in enjoyment. As the chairman of the gourmet company, we will address him as Musclehead from now on. He came close to the hunter with the dagger. The dagger hunter explained that he and his team had successfully killed all the skeletons in this area, and now this land was all under their control. The Musclehead would not find any living skeleton villager here. Only dead skeletons remain in this village. Then the Musclehead asked the hunter if he had not captured or taken control of the entire second floor yet. The hunter, a little nervous, explained that he is really sorry, and he has only been able to capture half of the second floor so far. He assured the Musclehead that in no time he will take control of the entire second floor, and the Musclehead won't see even a single skeleton. The Musclehead, a little disappointed and annoyed, asked how much time it will take in total to capture the entire second floor. The hunter explained that even though they are only skeletons, they always roam in groups, and in a village there are at least 100 skeletons present. Moreover, on the second floor, there are more than 50 villages, and the second floor is a very large floor, so it will at least take a few weeks. The Musclehead was hearing this in silence, his eyes fixed on opening his status window. Then, the Musclehead transferred some data to the hunter, surprising him. When the hunter asked what this was, the Musclehead explained with a proud face that these are all the people who took debt from his company and were unable to repay. He forcefully awakened them and made them hunters. The dagger hunter can use these people, and his task is to take control of this floor within 1 week. As the Musclehead was leaving, the dagger hunter bowed, saying the work will be done. Then the Musclehead finally reached the farmland that he and his team had created by planting Seo-jun's cherry tomatoes. The lead researcher welcomed the Musclehead, and while showing the little farm where the magical cherry tomatoes were grown, she explained with a smile on her face that they had successfully grown the special magical cherry tomatoes. The cherry tomatoes had finally grown healthy and ripened, ready to be harvested. She invited the Musclehead to pluck the first cherry tomato with his own hands. Hearing this, the Musclehead, with a wicked smile glaring at the cherry tomatoes, exclaimed, "Finally!" With that, he gently plucked a cherry tomato, and after glaring at it for a while with confidence and an excited smile, took a bite and placed the cherry tomato inside his mouth. He slowly chewed the cherry tomato for a while, but then something unexpected happened. The Musclehead's whole face turned pale, and suddenly he crouched and started to vomit, throwing up all the cherry tomatoes that he had chewed. All the researchers and the lead researcher lady got a little panicked and came close to the Musclehead, asking if he was okay. Then, before the red-haired lady could do or say anything, the Musclehead, still with a pained expression on his face, started to shout and scold everyone, saying, "What the hell is happening here?" This confusion left everyone bewildered. In their confusion, when the red-haired lady asked for an explanation, as she couldn't understand what he was trying to say, the Musclehead started to shout even more. He held up a cherry tomato and yelled, "Can't she see that I clearly vomited the cherry tomato? That means the cherry tomato tastes disgusting." Hearing this, the red-haired researcher lady took the cherry tomato from the Musclehead's hand, and she herself took a bite of the cherry tomato. All the other researchers also took a bite, and just like the Musclehead, they started to vomit due to the cherry tomato's taste. The red-haired woman was also really shocked, saying they had used all the high-quality nutritional supplements, and everything was top-notch. Even in their lab, they had successfully managed to grow the cherry tomato on Earth, but it was not this disgusting. Hearing all this, the Musclehead realized that all his money and career would go to waste if he didn't grow the magical cherry tomatoes. He had already invested a large amount of money into this project. In frustration, he forcefully plucked some cherry tomatoes and then threw them on the ground in anger. He started stomping on them, and as he raised his foot, what he saw left him in terror and shock. There was not a single seed inside the cherry tomato. Well, this happened because Seo-jun had all the exclusive rights to all the crops he would grow, and no one in the world would be able to grow his crops without his permission. Meanwhile, we see Seo-jun sleeping like there's no tomorrow, with his mouth open and drooling. Above him, there is a theft in progress. Ox number 1 sneaked in quietly, seeing the onion leaves placed on top of the peanut seed. With a wicked smile, he picked some onion leaves and stared at them for a while. Then, with a warm smile, he started to munch on them, completely unaware that something terrible was approaching him. So with this, the episode ends here. Please write part 33 in the comment. Thanks for watching. This is the story of Seo Jun, where he grew stronger by farming and evolving his pets by giving them his special juice, making them thick. Oh, I mean, thick. What the? Guys, my cat Theo, whom I found on the street, is really sick. He is having diarrhea and vomiting, so I was unable to upload a video. I hope you will understand. In the previous episode, we saw how Seo Jun slaughtered the crayfish and then cooked it with cherry tomatoes and corn, having a feast with his animal family. Meanwhile, on the second floor of the tower, the CEO of the gourmet company mercilessly slaughtered all the poor, innocent skeletons living in the village just because he was planning to farm Seo Jun's special cherry tomato. He successfully made a farm after slaughtering half of the innocent skeletons on the second floor. However, as he plucked the first cherry tomato and tasted it, he was left speechless as the taste was truly awful, like dog's shit. And the weird thing was that there was not a single seed in the cherry tomato, meaning they were gay. On the other hand, ox number 3 was secretly stealing onion leaves while Seo Jun was sleeping. Now the CEO was sitting in a hut inside the 38th floor, glaring at the cherry tomato that his team had grown on the second floor. With an annoyed face, he exclaimed that without any seeds, how could they reproduce the cherry tomatoes, let alone improve their breed? The taste was also terrible, like dog poop. Then his facial expression became a bit more serious, and while holding his chin with a contemplative look, he suddenly remembered something. We are shown a flashback to 10 years ago when the musclehead was returning from his office and got sucked inside the black hole, accidentally entering the tower and becoming a player. The musclehead's dream was to become rich. Not just rich, but the richest human alive on Earth. He even wanted to keep Elon Musk as his driver. So, guys, we are very close to reaching 200,000 subscribers. To those who haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do subscribe and support the channel. Today's like goal is 6,000 likes. Thank you, as always, for your love and support. Now, let's continue. Inside the tower, he realized that the sun never sets, and there's 24-hour sunlight shining on the ground, creating a perfect environment for growing crops with high-quality soil. He got a brilliant idea. His first step toward becoming the richest man on Earth was to dominate and become #1 on the global food chain by growing high-quality crops inside the tower. Then, after returning from the tower, he explained his dream to his dad, and although skeptical, his dad agreed to fund his dream. Then, he took all his father's company's money and started his project to grow crops inside the tower. He bought high-quality seeds and fertilizer, hired professional farmers, made them players, and guided them inside the tower for farming. But things didn't go according to his plan. After a few months, and repeated attempts to grow crops, not a single blade of grass sprouted on his farmland, let alone a crop. Seeing this, the musclehead was getting frustrated and desperate. He knelt on the ground, holding the soil, and started shouting, asking why. Even after investing all his father's company's money, trying hundreds of seedling methods, using high-quality seeds and fertilizers, and hiring professionals, not a single plant was growing. He was demanding answers while angrily gripping the soil. Then, after some time, an incident occurred. In the news, a report went viral stating that inside the tower, if hunters engaged in sexual activity, they would not get pregnant. For some reason, once a human enters the tower, their sperm loses the ability to pregnant a woman. Because of this, many couples were seen going inside the tower for their desires. Well, the musclehead, after hearing this news, realized that the same rule applied to crops. This was the reason he was not able to grow Earth's crops inside the tower. Crops were treated as foreign objects, and they also lost the ability to grow or reproduce. Even after all this, the musclehead didn't give up. He went on a quest to find all the merchants in the tower and started asking for fruits and vegetable seeds that grows inside the tower. His theory was that if the crops were grown inside the tower from the seed of the tower crops, he might be able to grow the crops himself. However, to his disappointment, all the merchants were willing to sell normal fruits and vegetables, but refused to sell crop seed. They explained that crop production was monopolized by a greedy and dangerous individual named Grid. Yes, it was the same guy who had hired the Silver Wolves to find Theo and retrieve the Straw Hat. All the merchants told him that they could only sell the crops, not the seed, or Grid would kill them. Hearing this, the musclehead was left devastated and depressed, with a pale face and no options left. He had used almost all the money from his father's company, and as he had failed in his project, his father declared him a failure and beat the shit out of him after slammed his ass with iron rod 100 times, and his father removed his name from the company and left him on the street. Just like that, his dream of creating a farm inside the tower crumbled like breadcrumbs. Now, back in the present, the musclehead was deep in thought, glaring at the cherry tomato they had managed to grow from Seo Jun's cherry tomato seeds. Yes, the one that tasted like dog excrement. Then the musclehead suddenly stood up from his chair, and he immediately started shouting and ordering all his men to gather all the hunters on the 38th floor in front of him right now. He slammed a big pouch full of tower coins, shocking everyone. With a determined look on his face, he announced that it doesn't matter how much money he has to spend. He will successfully grow the crops inside the tower. They used E-grade tomatoes and made progress in at least growing a crop, so it's possible that if they try to grow again using the seeds of D-grade crops, the results might be different. While glaring at the cherry tomato while holding it in his hand, he continued saying, "Everyone has only one mission, and that is to find that wandering merchant cat and buy each and every D-grade cherry tomato he is holding." Then, with a tight grip, he squeezed the cherry tomato and started laughing wickedly, saying he will definitely succeed in becoming the richest man on Earth, make Elon Musk his driver, and show his father that he is not a useless son. Meanwhile, Theo was happily returning to the cave, thinking he would finally be able to become Uncle Theo again. However, he noticed something weird. Onion leaves were scattered on the ground. To inspect, Theo picked up an onion leaf and realized it was indeed the plant Seo Jun had grown inside the cave. He questioned why these leaves were lying outside the cave, but he didn't get any answers. Theo decided to collect all the onion leaves and ask Seo Jun once he reached the cave. He started picking up the onion leaves from the ground one by one as he moved forward. Suddenly, he bumped into something really hard. When Theo looked upward, he saw a large ox with a peculiar expression, as if it was enjoying something. The ox appeared to be sucking on one of the onion leaves. As ox number 3 noticed Theo, he turned down and realized it was a wandering merchant. He asked if Theo needed anything. Theo, with an angry expression, pointed his finger toward ox number 3 and asked where he found that leaf he was munching on like a lollipop. Ox number 3, sitting casually with a casual tone, pointed his finger toward Seo Jun's cave and replied that he found these leaves lying on the ground, so he took them. Hearing this, Theo started shouting while pointing his finger toward ox number 3, saying there was no way the onion leaves were left or thrown recklessly on the ground. He had observed Seo Jun for months, watching him create useful things from these onion leaves, from footplates to bowls and even ropes. He had also seen Seo Jun wiping his ass with these onion leaves after taking a poop, so there was no way Seo Jun would have thrown them on the ground without any reason. Theo continued, expressing his outrage at ox number 3 for stealing these precious leaves. However, upon hearing this, ox number 3 became furious. He declared that Minotaurs were a proud and honorable clan, and they never stole anything. He slammed his giant hand on the ground, shaking the entire area and creating a huge hole. Theo was thrown high into the air by the impact, but managed to dodge the attack, saving himself from being smashed. Still seething with anger, ox number 3 growled with veins bulging from his head, stating that even though Theo was a wandering merchant, he would not hesitate to kill him if he dared to accuse ox number 3 of stealing these leaves. It was a direct attack on the Minotaur clan's pride. Theo listened in fear, trembling and wearing a worried expression. Then, gathering a little courage, Theo stated that he was not lying and that he was an honest merchant who never lied. He stood up with even more courage, determined to protect his pride. In a loud voice, while pointing his finger toward ox number 3, he suggested that they should go to Seo Jun and ask him if he had really thrown these onion leaves on the ground or not. This way, the matter could be resolved without fighting. For a moment, ox number 3 listened to Theo's newfound courage. Then, his angry eyes gradually turned more normal, and he replied that this was indeed a good idea. He was ready to go and ask Theo to take him to Seo Jun. Theo, filled with enthusiasm, began to lead the way to Seo Jun's cave. He requested that ox number 2 follow him and refrain from eating or doing anything with the onion leaves until they cleared things up with Seo Jun. Ox number 3 silently followed Theo. After a while, they finally reached the entrance of the cave. Theo walked forward proudly, feeling like he had done a great job. Ox number 3 wore an annoyed expression, glaring at Theo and wondering why Seo Jun would have thrown these precious and magical grass on the ground to rot. However, suddenly, ox number 3 while holding his cheeks and with sparkling eyes, remembered that the Ox King had indeed instructed him to find out about the person who grew these magical grass. Now, he was about to meet that person, and he imagined the Ox King complimenting and rewarding him for his success. Lost in his daydream, he continued to follow Theo. Meanwhile, completely unaware of the events unfolding, Seo-jun continued to sleep soundly. Suddenly, a figure jumped from the cave entrance and landed on Seo-jun's stomach, causing him to spit out saliva from the impact and jolting him awake. In great pain and trembling, Seo-jun held his stomach, trying to recover from the shock. Theo, standing behind him, shouted at Seo-jun, urging him to get up and follow him immediately. Theo excitedly told Seo-jun that he had accomplished something remarkable, and Seo-jun would surely reward him when he saw what he had done. However, Seo-jun struggled to contain his anger due to the pain. After a moment, with the pain subsiding a bit, Seo-jun turned his head toward Theo and asked what the matter was. Smirking, Theo explained that he had caught a thief. Seo-jun, still lying on his back, was a little confused and asked Theo to clarify further. Theo insisted that Seo-jun should simply follow him, and he would find out everything soon enough. As Seo-jun slowly emerged from the cave, he was met with a sight that left him sweating with anxiety. He saw a massive buffalo-like creature, resembling a monster, staring angrily at the cave entrance. Seo-jun was left speechless, his face paling as he observed the intimidating presence before him. In a shaky voice, he turned to Theo and asked who this formidable figure was and whether it was the thief Theo had mentioned. Theo, perched on Seo-jun's shoulder with an air of confidence, remained silent. As they both stepped outside the cave, Theo hopped down onto the ground and began pointing his finger at the massive creature, Ox number 3, while shouting that this was indeed the thief and that Seo-jun should scold him promptly. Seo-jun, still bewildered and unsure of how to confront the enormous buffalo-like creature, watched in confusion. Theo hurriedly retrieved the onion leaves that Ox number 3 had taken and claimed as stolen. He presented them as evidence, insisting that Seo-jun needed to scold the creature for his actions. Seo-jun then realized that these were the onion leaves he had spread on the peanut seed farm to lock in moisture. Ox number 3 defended himself, shouting loudly that he had merely picked them up from the ground as they appeared to have been discarded and useless to anyone. He adamantly declared that he was not a thief. Using his observational skills, Seo-jun deduced that this massive creature was the Black Minotaur, the same one the mama bear had warned him about. It became clear that this creature had also been responsible for stealing corn leaves from the peanut field and creating large holes in the farm during the blue moon. As Seo-jun was lost in deep thought, Ox number 3 continued shouting in anger, emphasizing that he was an honorable warrior of the Minotaur clan and could never steal anything. Theo, bolstered by his proximity to Seo-jun, joined in the shouting, asserting that Seo-jun had not discarded the onion leaf, and Ox number 3 had definitely taken them. Seo-jun stood in uncertainty, trying to figure out how to handle the situation. In the midst of his contemplation, Seo-jun had a brilliant idea, but before he could elaborate, Theo interjected. Addressing Seo-jun as chairman, he urged Seo-jun to hurry and tell the truth about whether he had really discarded the onion leaf. Seo-jun responded that he had not thrown them away, as they were too precious and had multiple purposes. He explained that he had spread the grass on the field to retain moisture for the peanuts to grow well. Hearing this revelation, Ox number 3 was taken aback, his mouth agape in shock. Now, Ox number 3 was growing increasingly nervous, and he stammered as he explained to Seo-jun that he thought the grass had been discarded, which was why he had taken it. He began to berate himself, questioning how he, a proud Minotaur, could have mistakenly taken something that didn't belong to him. He then humbly apologized to Seo-jun, acknowledging his error in taking the grass. However, Seo-jun had his own devious plan in mind. With a sly smile and folded arms, he responded to Ox number 3, stating that mere words of apology would not suffice. He reminded Ox number 3 that he had not only stolen this time, but had also previously destroyed his farm during the blue moon. Seo-jun extended his hand confidently and declared that Ox number 3 would have to compensate him with 100 tower coins, as his business had suffered due to Ox number 3's mistake, and this was the price he had to pay. So guys, with this, the episode ends here. Please leave a pink heart in the comments and write next part. Thanks for watching. Bye.